Hello and welcome to the Hurry Up Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Craig, and today we are sitting down with my friend Greg Suran, who I've been trying to get on the show. He's been very busy. This is episode 8, and what is the day today? It's Friday, February 21st. I didn't get up an episode earlier this week. It's been a little busy, had a lot going on, but we are recording now. We're going to get this one up here pretty soon. With that, Greg, thank you for taking time to join me today.
Great to be
So I,
here.
yeah, it's how long ago did I meet you? It was about 3 years ago. I think it was I was streaming during COVID and everybody was kind of locked in their houses, right? Um,
Yeah, actually, I loved your Twitch channel just because you would play a lot of Elvira, and I had just bought an Elvira at the time, and it was frustrating the hell out of me. And
frustrates
I would
everyone.
scream at the machine, and I would just bang it and curse at it in the middle of the night during like the height of COVID. And I'd watch your stream, and you were just so chill and so calm and just nailing shots. And I'm like, man, I need to be more like that
Well,
guy.
that's because I was on
And
camera. I was
right.
I was on camera. When I'm not on camera, man, the cuss words are flying. You know,
Yeah.
I'm punching coin doors, or at
Oh
least
man,
not
I,
anymore,
I've
but I used to.
yeah,
Oh,
I've given my Elvira a hard time over the years, but yeah, I remember watching your
yeah.
stream and just in chat, getting to know you a bit, and telling you what I do for a living. And then I think I was playing in Las Vegas with Lionel Richie for a
Yeah.
residency. You happened to be in town, and so we got to meet in person, played some pinball, and you came to my show, I
And
remember, and
we
friends ever since.
Yeah, we went to the Pinball Hall of Fame, and just so you know, anybody I know, I will make them just, what did I make you play when we were at the Pinball Hall of Fame?
That would be the best pinball machine ever made, Thunderbirds.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I have a picture of it. So anybody out there, every once in a while, I'll just send it to Greg and be like, I
yeah.
have this picture still. It's my leverage.
Blackmail. Blackmail. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, thanks for joining us. We're gonna get into a whole bunch of fun stuff today. We'll talk about some of the music stuff. We'll talk about pinball. There's definitely some overlap there too. Those to
Yeah.
me, it's the arcade. To me, the arcade, at least in the '80s, was always tied with music. Like I couldn't imagine being in
Absolutely.
an arcade with no music back in the day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It was
I don't
all
know,
about it.
something wrong about that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we'll kind of roll into some stuff. So just kind of tell us about yourself. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into music?
Yeah. So I grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, and in the 70s and 80s, mostly 80s. But yeah, I at a young age, I was really into bands like AC/DC and Van Halen and Rush and hard rock bands and metal bands like Iron Maiden and Dio and stuff like that. And I had a neighbor who was he was a couple of years older than me, and he was really into music, and he was always sort of turning me on to that stuff. And at an early age, there was another guy in the neighborhood that played guitar. He had a Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul, and a Marshall, and he was playing AC/DC songs. And I couldn't believe that a mere mortal could do that, let alone a guy in my neighborhood. I thought it was some kind of magic, like hearing
Yeah.
that stuff on the record, and then hearing this guy play Back in Black on a guitar. I mean, he probably wasn't playing it all that great, but to me, it
Mm.
sounded amazing. And
Oh yeah.
from that point on, I begged my parents to play guitar for me to play guitar, and eventually they sort of caved. I don't think they thought I would stick with it really, but I was young. I was probably 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
and yeah, I started taking lessons. I went through all that stuff.
What was your first
Getting
guitar?
it. God, it was my dad. My dad had a guitar, even though he didn't really play. I think he was one of those guys in the 70s that when folk music was really
Oh
popular,
yeah.
he was learned a few chords, and he actually he had this Framus acoustic that the strings were like an inch off the fretboard. It was so hard to play
That's how
that,
everybody starts, right?
oh
You're like,
man,
this
it
is
was like
really hard.
brutal. And that guitar has kind of bounced around for a while. I think my brother actually has it now, but it was a really
Yeah.
hard guitar to play. But I started with that, and eventually I started going to this guitar school, like local guitar school, sort of like the Alfred method, very old
Yeah.
school, reading single notes at a time, playing Oh Susanna, stuff like that. This guy, his name was Jack Moore. He had a guitar school in LaGrange. And I think I rented a guitar from him, an electric, and eventually bought it from him, but it was an Airline, the same exact one that Jack White and the White
I was
Stripes
about to say
plays.
that's the yeah, that was that was that wasn't that available at Montgomery Ward at some point. I think they
It
had
was
sold it
definitely
in
a
their
budget
catalog or
guitar.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
really
was a
cool looking
budget
though.
guitar.
It's yeah,
Super cool. But
yeah,
I hate it. I mean, I liked it. It was better than the Framus, of course, but at the time I kind of wanted to play like a Les Paul, like Ace Frehley,
oh yeah, yeah,
and eventually like an SG like I wanted, and then eventually like a Kramer style like Eddie Van Halen. But I had that guitar for a long time, and I always wanted to smash a guitar. And at sometime in the 80s or early 90s, I
yeah.
decided to smash it.
Doesn't everybody? Doesn't
Yeah, because
everybody? I've never actually done it. I'm
yeah,
like, I only
oh, I've
have
done it.
two. I've had two, and
Well,
that's it.
the irony is that I was thinking, oh, this guitar is so worthless. Like it's a cheap guitar. It wasn't at the time like a really coveted guitar, and
Yeah,
I smashed it and ruined it. And then fast forward whatever 20 years later, Jack White makes that guitar really valuable and famous. So I regret that a little bit, but
you could have bought
yeah,
a couple pins with that, Greg.
I know. Yeah, I sure could have. I know. Oh
Yeah.
well, live and learn.
Uh,
But yeah, and I played guitar all through high school. I was obsessed with guitar and went to school, to college for classical guitar performance, and graduated. And that led to a lot of other things in my career, and eventually becoming a professional guitar player, having my own band with a record deal, all kinds of. It's a long story, but a lot
yeah,
of stuff since then. Yeah.
yeah. There's Yeah, so you talk about the different bands. If I imagine you probably have this memorized, like every once in a while, like I'll look on Wikipedia just because there's always something new on there. So, do you remember like who you've played with
Yeah.
and yeah, run down the list because I think it's amazing. Like there's some people on like
Thanks.
there's so much variety there. I think it's awesome, which I think it's just my opinion, but as a guitar player, it helps you get better by learning all these different kinds of styles of music, so to speak, because you're like a chameleon when it comes to that stuff. You play a lot of different
Well,
stuff. I think it's
thanks.
pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I can run it down. And apologies, I know it's a pinball podcast, but I'm assuming we'll get to pinball at some point. But it's all, like you said, it's all related.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, so quick little rundown, probably chronologically of what I could recall. I would say that the first out of college, the first kind of big opportunity I had was playing for a band called Machines of Loving Grace, that was on Atlantic Records. They were already established. They had a record or two out already by the time I joined them. They were out of Tucson, Arizona, and I was out of Chicago. But we toured. The band had a song that was a pretty big song called Butterfly Wings. That was kind of a industrial club hit. And then the band also had a song on the Crow soundtrack, the original Crow soundtrack,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a pretty famous soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I was pretty young. This is probably like 95. I was probably like 22 or something, or 23. And we toured with the band Korn on their first tour. And we toured with the Jim Rose Circus, and we did some of our own headlining tours. So we did a lot of stuff. And then from
Yeah.
there, I had my own band called Cupcakes out of Chicago that I formed with three other guys from Chicago that were my friends. And we got a record deal with DreamWorks. That had a whole kind of saga to it. We made one record that I'm really proud of, but due to certain issues, personality issues, whatnot, the band got dropped. We never really got much of a chance once our record was out. But
Yeah.
right after that, I joined Sunny Day Real Estate on their fourth album, the tour for that album called The Rising Tide. So Sunny Day Real Estate, the band out of Seattle that was on Sub Pop originally. And they made four records, and I joined them on their fourth record back in the year 2000. So we toured on that headlining tour. And then that band broke up. And right after that, I got hired to play with the Goo Goo Dolls, which moved me to California. I moved to LA, and that was around late 2001. Played with the Goo Goo Dolls for about 4 or 5 years. From then, I went on to play with Jewel, the singer. I became her like musical director, band leader. I played on one of her records, did some touring with her. After that led to a lot of other stuff. I was doing a lot of studio work. So in LA, kind of led to some great opportunities. So I was playing, doing a lot of stuff with the producer, Rob Cavallo. Rob did Green Day, Goo Goo Dolls records. So projects I did with Rob
Big ones.
include like, yeah, he's a big producer, really talented guy. I worked on the film version of the Broadway play Rent. There was a director, Chris Columbus directed it. Big theatrical release. I don't know how well the movie did, but anyway, that was like 28 songs in the studio. Played on an Avril Lavigne record, a couple Goo Goo Dolls records, bunch of stuff with that. And then from there, I played with the band Five for Fighting for a bit. After that, I played with Joe Walsh. That was quite a thrill, guitar hero of mine. Did that for a few years. Um, Played with the B-52s shortly thereafter. And I played with the B-52s for a pretty long time, like over 12 years. And then in that time, started playing with Lionel Richie, played on American Idol for the last 8 years, done some work on the TV show The Voice as well, filling in there. And I'm probably leaving some out, but
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
those are
insane.
the big hits. Yeah.
It's cool. It's a big variety of different artists. I love that. I mean, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I'm an Avril Lavigne fan. When she
Oh,
kind of hit
nice.
back in the day, the like
Yeah.
I always when I listen to music, I like listening to the whole albums, and most of the songs that I like that I really like end up being the ones that don't necessarily make it onto the radio. I'm like, dude, this thing's a gem, and it's like, and
Deep
then
cuts. Yeah.
yeah, did the deep cuts, and then eventually, like, 6 months later, somebody's like, "Hey, this is a popular song. Let's put it on the radio now." And then I'm like, usually by that time, I'm kind of moving on. But I love finding stuff like that. So, with
Yeah.
Avril Lavigne and some of those other bands, I like finding that stuff. I love listening to music. I've always wanted to play, and I've played bass and I played guitar and kind of noodled on drums. But the reality of it is, just time-wise between pinball and all the other stuff going on, it's for me, it's never the thing that I always go to first. And
Yeah.
as I get older, I find myself with less less time, so I have to kind of pick my battles. And I've accepted the fact that I love music. I love listening to all kinds of music, but it might not be in the cards for me to play it in a band, because you know me well enough. I'm that guy that, it's like I take everything, I take it pretty far, whether it's pinball or other stuff. And I'm like, I learned to play, start playing with the band. I know I'd want to play with a band, and then it's like, hey, let's go find somewhere to play. And then it just keeps going from there. Uh,
Yeah. I'm
and I'm
waiting
like,
for the Hurry Up Pinball how to video on how to change pickups on a Les Paul.
oh man, I'll get
Waiting
the
for that one.
soldering right, but you might have to walk me through all the rest of it. Izzy's
Sure.
getting really good at it. Izzy's been buying those guitars. He's been buying those guitars, and they look fantastic. He's like, they play awesome. A lot of them, some of them are knockoffs, but he's going through and he's putting good components, and he's like, I love this thing. So he's getting really good at it. I love it.
Yeah.
He's constantly sending me pictures. Um,
Yeah, it's fun. Well, I build my own guitar pedal boards, and I've done that for years. I will change pickups on certain guitars, which kind of correlates to the pinball maintenance stuff. You get a solder gun out, and it's kind of
oh
like
yeah.
a problem-solving excursion. So yeah, there's some parallels there for sure.
Yeah. So have you ever when wiring up a pedal board or a guitar, you ever blown anything? You ever did it backwards?
I wouldn't say blown anything. We're dealing with low voltage on all that
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
so
true.
yeah, yeah. That wouldn't really be too much of an issue. But amps, I've definitely messed a few amps up in my time for sure.
Are
Blown
you
plenty of
guilty of
tubes.
plugging something in when it's on?
What's that?
Plugging something in when it's on. That's always the rule. Like, don't plug it in when it's on. Turn it off and then plug it in and then turn it on. That's what I've
The
always heard.
biggest
Could be a
the
lie.
biggest thing that can happen is like if you have an amp head, like a tube power amp
Mhm.
head, and you turn it on, you've plugged your guitar into it, you start playing stuff, you take it off standby. But if you don't have it plugged into a speaker, in other words, a load, they call it,
Yeah.
you'll blow the power amp section of your amp. So, and I've done that. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely blown up a few amps, no doubt.
You ever done that live?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've definitely, yeah, yeah.
I imagine there's some backups there. So, uh,
Yeah, and frankly, I'm lucky that most of the performing I'm doing, I have a tech that takes care of it, and
yeah,
I can yell at him or blame him.
just yell at the tech, right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
met
no,
him. I met him.
I
I
don't do
caught you.
that.
I know. I'm just teasing. I caught you guys at the airport. I think I met your tech.
Oh, that's
You
right.
guys are heading
Yeah,
to the
Matt Moran.
Bahamas. Yeah, we were both
Yeah,
there.
that was
Uh,
my tech. He's my tech for Lionel Richie. Yeah, yeah, Matt's a great guy
I was
who
going
also loves
somewhere.
pinball.
Does he? He's pinball?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man.
On the road,
Um,
I'll take him with sometimes, and we'll go play pinball. Yeah,
Now I know you live in Chicago, but you're in a lot of different places. Where's Matt located? Is he out LA or?
Matt, he's near Philly. Yeah, I split my time
Okay.
between LA and Chicago. Actually, I'm many years I'm usually in LA more than I'm in Chicago, but all my pins are here in Chicago. So
Yeah. So it was funny. You told me the other day, like you had a long stretch of being home, which what'd you say it's been like 3 years, I think.
Yes, kind of coming out of the pandemic when I started with Lionel Richie. It's like the Lionel gig started for me. So I was going back and forth between American Idol, touring with Lionel and doing performances with him, still doing shows with the B-52s on their quote unquote last tour of planet Earth.
Yeah.
Also, Sunny Day Real Estate got back together, so I was playing with them as well. So that 3 year period, the last 3 years, I basically mostly was only home about 28 days a year, at least here in
Wow.
Chicago. Anyway, I'd log a good couple months in LA, which was,
Yeah.
kind of nice. I'd be in one place, but I'd be away from my pinball machines most of the year.
Oh
These
yeah.
last 3 years, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine now, kind of I we talked about this a little bit, a lot, life on the road. What do you what takes some getting used to? I'm always curious. These are the things I don't want to overwhelm you with. Like, to me, I'm like sometimes they're work questions, right? You
Yeah.
know, and sometimes I'm like, hey, let's just talk pinball. But you know, every once in a while, I wonder like life on the road. Like, I'm sure some people have the vision in their head of, what it's like and how much fun it is and being in new cities and playing shows. But I always laugh because you put up that picture where one of the buses or the tour buses broke down. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm like,
Yeah.
so when it comes to life on the road, what do you like? What do you you know what are the are there some things that you've kind of gotten tired of a little bit, just in a general sense?
Yeah, well, I've been doing it a long time. I've been touring for almost 30 years now, or probably at least 30 years. So I've done it kind of at every level, from early days of just being in a van with a bunch of bandmates and crashing on bartenders' floors if they'll let us, or crashing in the van, or five guys in a one hotel room, sleeping on the floor and whatever. So I've done
Yeah.
that level, to staying at the Four Seasons and flying around in private jets, and everything in between. It's thing about
Yeah.
being a musician is that it doesn't matter how successful you think you are, or things seem to be. uh, you'll always go back to those early levels of not so glamorous touring too. It's
Yeah.
just being a musician is just something you're gonna do everything in between all the time. You never, it's not like, oh, I made it. It doesn't quite work like that.
Right.
But
Right.
as far as the road can be really fun. So much of it has to do with who you're touring with.
Yeah.
And like I listed earlier, I've played in so many different bands and ensembles and things like that. And everyone is a little different. And some are, you're like a family, and you go out to dinner together on days off, you joke around all the time, you go out for drinks, etc. And others, you just don't even talk to the people you're with. I've had a couple of those aren't so much fun, but
Yeah.
mostly it's you're with people that you at least find a few people that you really connect with. And that stuff's always really fun. Plus it's hard, you're away from home,
Yeah.
travel's always hard. I don't care what anybody says. Airports, buses breaking down, like you said, in the middle of the night, flights getting canceled, your luggage getting lost, you name it, weather, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff happening.
And when you're out
That
there,
stuff's
yeah, when you're out there, that frequently, I imagine that stuff happens, a little bit more than it would to the average person too, where it's like, man, my luggage got lost for the fourth time this year, something like that. I'm like,
oh yeah.
mine gets lost once, I get pissed off. I'm like, well, how could this happen?
Oh, it
Um,
happens all the time. That's why I've adopted, I don't check luggage anymore. I just don't do it.
yeah.
Everything I do is carry on everything.
Yeah, I always tell
Yeah.
when I travel with my wife, she's like, she'll pack a bag, and I'm like, I'm so like, I'll go for business stuff, and I'll take two suits and shoes, and sometimes I can squeeze it all into like a backpack, right? Because I didn't even
Yeah.
want to fight anybody for overhead space on the plane. But she'll
Yeah.
show up with a big bag, and I'm like, look, my attitude is, hey, wallet, keys, phone. If you
Yeah.
have one day of clothes, you can buy anything else you need. It's not
Well,
ideal, but you know,
I heard a story that I don't know Warren, but Warren, the guitar player from the band, the Vandals. I don't really know him, but I heard the story about him. I've played with a lot of people that played with him, and I heard that he would do entire, whatever, 6 week legs of tours, 6 month tours, what have you, with
yeah,
one backpack. And it would be like two shirts, two pairs of underwear, two pairs of socks, a pair of pants. And he would hand wash whatever he wasn't wearing every night, like in the sink of his
Oh my
hotel.
gosh, that's
I,
insane.
I don't know if that's true. It's just a story I heard, but
Yeah.
it actually I heard that years ago and it inspired me. So I don't quite do it to that level, but I managed to fit everything in a carry on typically. But yeah, the you know, but the road is it can be thrilling, you know, because you're
Yeah.
performing every night, and you know sometimes I'm playing at soccer stadiums in front of 85,000 people. Sometimes I'm playing at like a small theater or a club. Or sometimes it's in a basketball arena. Sometimes it's whatever. You know, it's always something different
Yeah.
and that stuff's always thrilling. I mean, that's why we do it. You want to perform, you want to make people happy, you want to feel that connection between the audience and yourself, and all those things are really incredible. But as I've gotten older, it really is hard to tour.
Yeah.
The world of travel has just become more complicated. People are angrier. There's more people doing it. There's just more going wrong all the time, it seems. But it's always an adventure. I mean, I've had so many adventures over the years on the road, just, you know, getting into trouble with
Oh, I
bandmates or
bet.
whatever, crew
Yeah.
members, and you know,
My
it's
brain instantly goes to Metallica, Motley Crue,
yeah.
the Led Zeppelin, the craziness. But I also know, like, hey, you know, there's other stuff that goes on too. That it's like there's a normal side of it too, I'm sure. And
Yeah, it's a job.
I can't even imagine being in an environment, where you have some bandmates that are love to party hard, and that is like 24/7. I like if
Oh, oh yeah.
like in your 20s, you'd be like, yeah, I'm good. In your 30s, you're like, oh man, in your 40s, I'm like, I just want to sleep. I want to get a good night's sleep. I mean, that's
Oh,
where I'm at.
the worst
Um,
is I don't really do this anymore because you know, I know what I'm capable of, and you know, when you have to perform, you want to be at your best and everything,
right.
so you have to take care of yourself. But I could tell you so many times where you finish playing a show and the concert lets out at like 11 or whatever. And then you meet a bunch of people and they're going out and they're going to go out to some bars. And you're like, oh man, this is so fun. I'm going to go. You end up, you know, staying out, you're drinking, whatever. And you have a lobby call at 5 a.m. or
Oh,
something because you've got to fly to the other side of the country and you've got connections and you're going into a show or something. And yeah, you roll into your hotel room at 3 a.m. and you look at the clock, you're like, oh man, I gotta, I basically have time to take a shower and pack and get out of here. And when I
yeah.
was younger, I could do that stuff, but man, even if I don't care if it's the best party in the world, if I have a 5 a.m. lobby call,
Like,
see you
peace
later.
out.
You guys have fun. I'm no, not for me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had
not anymore.
um I've had some work trips that have rolled over like Saturday, and it was years ago. I went to Seattle for work and I had a conference that lasted through like Friday afternoon. And at the conference, I ended up bumping into a girl I went to high school with. She dated one of my friends for a long time, and so we knew each other really well. She was there with her parents, and they were part of the event. And it was totally random. This is halfway across, this is across the country, right? So they have a party scheduled that night. So I wasn't leaving till the morning, and I just remember going out, and we were out till like 3 or 4. I mean, like, it was her parents, it was her parents and her. I'm like, her parents are in like late 50s and they love the part. And like, we were out like till like 3 or 4 in Seattle. And then I was like,
Wow.
I gotta be on a plane at 7:30.
Oh yeah,
And I
brutal.
think because I had worked all day, I was still in my suit for the entire evening. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I got back and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I could do this like once a year, maybe. Even Vegas. I've been to Vegas like 20 times for work. And,
yeah,
I have people I know, they'll go out and they'll party all night. I'm that guy. It's like 11 o'clock. I'm in bed. I'm
yeah.
watching my phone at that point. I'm over it. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, you kind of have to be judicious about when you're gonna, you know, throw caution to the wind like that. Like I'm
yeah,
kind of with you. I've got one or two of those a year, and even then, after I do it, I'm like, man, you idiot, what were you thinking? You know, like,
I just
it gets
wake up, I
harder as you
feel
get older.
terrible, and I'm like, maybe I get a good
Yeah,
story out of this, but it was rough.
yeah,
Um,
I'd say mostly on the road these days, especially on a day off. I'm looking to get a nice dinner, hopefully with, you know, some people from the touring group or the band, if not just even by myself or with a local friend in town or whatever.
yeah.
And then find a pinball bar, play a couple games, have a beer or two, and then, you know, that's about all I'm looking for really, you know.
Yeah. When you guys were playing the show in Atlanta with the B-52s, I like when I found out we were going to be down there, and we were getting together. I had to call the pharmacist. I'm like, "Hey, are you around, man? Please tell me you're around." Because I wanted to get you over there and check that out. So I was like, as long as you had time, I mean, that
Oh,
his
incredible, yeah.
that collection that he's got is amazing. It's all almost all of them are high-end pin restores,
Yeah.
just beautiful. And it's like, yeah, that was worth it. I'm like, hey, we'll drive over there, we'll check it out. Um,
Great guy,
but
incredible
yeah,
collection, and so
yeah,
knowledgeable and so amazing at restoring games. And yeah, that was so
yeah.
much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That's the stuff I like doing. I mean, I love, I work in sales. I love meeting people, and I'm super social, and I have the problem whenever I get too quiet, people are like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm like, I'm crashing right now,"
Yeah.
And the people constantly ask, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Dude, nothing. I'm just wiped. I just need to not talk for, an hour or two."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good time. I had fun. That was a great show too, and it
Thanks.
was fun watching, seeing you up there playing, and that was a good time. And that Lionel show was awesome. That was one of the best. That was one of the best shows I've been to, and I was
Wow.
sitting in a great seat too, man. And it was like you just feel it. That's the thing I love about it. When you're at a great concert, like you feel it. Everybody's into it.
Yeah.
So I had a blast at those. So those are great. And I always tell
Those
you, nobody
yeah.
nobody comes to Charlotte, but if you ever come to Charlotte, you have to let me know. Because the first
Oh,
thing
of
we're gonna
course.
do is
Yeah.
we're calling Troy and we're gonna make him open up the basement regardless of the hour. So
I'm dying to check that place out. And yeah, of course, I'd love to get you into a show. I bet there'll be something. Yeah, we'll have it. But that's right. Yeah, you've seen me with the Bees and Lionel. I think those are the two,
yeah,
right? You
yeah.
haven't come to a Sunny Day show, have you?
No, and that
Okay.
one, yeah. If you guys are out there and you're touring, like that's one like I'm gonna bring Matt along. Matt's been a
Yeah, right.
huge Sunny Day fan from way back in the day, and I think the shows you played Nashville, he was at those, and um, and when I told him, I said, yeah, Greg plays, and he was like, seriously? He was like,
Yeah,
ah, so I know we were talking about going to TPF, so Matt's gonna be there too at TPF.
great.
Hopefully nothing changes on your end, but man.
Yeah, looking good.
TPF's
I'm
gonna be
hoping to be
fun.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it
At this
should be
point, it
fun.
looks good. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we're kind of that was like kind of the natural segue into pinball. So let me ask you
Wow.
this: how did you get into pinball? Because you've told me these stories, but I think some of the listeners out here would be interested to see how you got into it because you got some great stories around it too.
Yeah, the origin story. So basically, I got into pinball because my dad, growing up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, we're talking late 70s. He used to be into slot machines. He used to kind of collect those, like old vintage slot machines. And there was this dealer, I think the guy's name was Paul Beekler of the Home Arcade out here in Chicago. And as you know, Chicago is basically the home of
Pinball capital.
pinball, where it all started. Yeah.
Yep.
So back in the late 70s, my dad, he saw these pinball machines at this guy's dealer where he would buy these slot machines from. And he got this idea of like, that'd be fun for the family. And he started off with three machines. So the first three machines he got were Wizard, Bally's, I believe, right? Paragon, and Captain Fantastic. And that was when I think those machines basically were just recently released.
Oregon
Um,
was the wide body, right? It's a wider
yeah,
machine.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
I've
also
always
had
wanted
like
the
the
Captain
illustration on the
Fantastic
back
too.
glass that illustration on the back glass was basically how I discovered my heterosexuality and my the fact that I was into girls.
That was that was that was me and Elvira. I was like, my parents. I'm like, and to
Yeah,
this day, I still love Cassandra Peterson. I love Elvira. I love the
yeah.
the goofy, cheesy horror. That got me into horror movies because as a kid, they're pretty scary, but it was like a nice introduction into horror. And then I still remember kind of same thing, at least with that. I'd sit down and we'd be watching. It'd be like Halloween or something. They'd be doing a Elvira special. My parents are watching it, and I just remember same thing. I'm like, she's pretty.
Well, I don't know if I'm sure I've told you this, but I have a connection to her as well, and I
Yeah.
share the same thing. I used to watch her show all the time, and she's so beautiful and funny and hot and everything. I had the opportunity to work with her a number of years ago and produce a record of hers that Fred Schneider from the B-52s, he wrote a song for her, and he asked me to produce it and work with them. And so I ended up playing guitar and producing this single for Cassandra, for Elvira. So she
Yeah.
was at my home studio in LA and hanging out in my house for a couple of days with Fred. We made a record. So it was a pretty thrilling to actually work with her and meet her in person and get to know her a bit and make a
Yeah.
pretty cool record, actually. Yeah,
That's awesome. And I know you said she was amazing
she's
and
great. She's
super
so
nice. And I'm
funny.
like, I
Yeah,
love hearing that, because you never really know. I have a friend who's a movie critic, and she'll go and interview lots of different people. And again, every people have different stuff going on. You never know what someone's going through, but you
yeah,
kind of hear stories, the same kind of stories from different people about, their experiences. And I always tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard great things about this person or whatever. But somebody else, it's like, I don't want to ruin it for them, where it's like, I don't want to be
yeah.
like, yeah, this person, I've heard they're not the nicest. And I've heard a couple stories, from somebody that operates in
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't want to ruin
I
that for
have some
anybody.
stories. I have some stories that I won't reveal, but yeah,
And I won't ask you about any of those.
yeah.
Always a
But
professional.
Cassandra Elvira
Yeah.
is an incredible person. She's so cool.
Yeah.
So is Fred Schneider, by the way, from the B-52s. Also
Yeah.
a very cool
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Side note, I did make the mistake of telling my daughter that you knew the guy who plays Uncle Fester in Wednesday. And she yeah, she was like, "Hey, can you get them to can he talk to Stern and make a Wednesday pinball machine? Because I want one." I'm like, I'm not asking Greg. I'm not asking Greg to talk to Fred about that.
That's funny.
Um, yeah. The so sorry, I sidetracked you, man. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
Origin. So my
Yeah.
dad started collecting pinball machines early on, and basically from the late '70s through my entire childhood into the '90s, he would rotate games in and out as new ones would come. We always had three, and it was a great thing. We had them in the basement. There we had like a little bar down there, classic like suburban kind of
Ever
home
sneak a
bar,
beer? Did you
basement
sneak a
bar.
beer underage?
Oh
Play some pinball?
yeah, absolutely, yes. So he always had these games. He had a lot of over the years games like F-14 Tomcat, Firepower. Later, some Data East games like Tommy and the GNR, and there's a story to that as well, the GNR thing that's related to my family. But we always had pinball machines, and I wouldn't say that I was good at pinball back then. I wouldn't even say that I was, super obsessed with it, but I liked it. It'd be a fun thing to do. We'd go down, play some games. I wasn't very good at it, but it was always fun. And you get frustrated and yell and scream at the
Oh
machine,
yeah.
but people come over. It was a great way to have friends over and celebrate and do some fun things instead of like a board game, play some pinball. So that's always been a part of my life, and so that's where it started for me. I sort of lost interest when I went to college, and then started getting in my own bands and doing my musical career, but then regained my interest back in probably, I would say, 2017 or so.
Um, so what was your first game? What was the first game you actually bought?
That I bought. Okay, so that would have been right when the
Please tell me
pandemic
it was
started. Like,
Thunderbirds.
yeah, it was not Thunderbirds. Thank God. But like most of us, I had always been into pinball, and I was going on location a lot on tour. And here in Chicago at Logan Arcade, my friend Zespi, who owns and runs that place, it's the best pinball location in the world, in my
Gotta get
opinion.
up
But
there.
yeah, so I was playing on location a lot. Pandemic hits, and like most of us who were going through, we were kind of jonesing for something to do, playing some pinball. And like a lot of us, I decided to finally splurge and buy a couple of machines. The first two machines I bought were Iron Maiden Premium and Dr. Dude, Bally's Dr. Dude 1990, Dennis Nordman game, and of course the Keith
Oh,
Elwin Iron Maiden Premium. I bought from my good friend Mike over at Great American Pinball, and within a week of having those two games, I bought Jurassic Park Premium. So those are the first three I had within a 2 week period.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
straight Adams family. I sold all my
Hmm.
my bike racing stuff when I was in California. When we moved, there's no bike lanes here. The roads are sketchy. Like I'm like, I got kids. I'm like, I'm not gonna go ride my road bicycle on on backcountry
Yeah,
roads with 18 wheelers anymore. So I sold it, did the most unhealthy thing ever. And I was like, I always wanted a pinball machine. Now I actually have some money for it since I sold all that. So I bought that Adams family, and then it just kind of
great.
they're like gremlins, man. You get them wet, you don't want to get them wet, but they multiply.
Oh my
You
God,
you
yeah.
play them and they multiply. Um,
Yeah, and it wasn't long. I had seven machines after that.
were you
I
in the place you're in now, or were you
at
still in
at
your house?
first, so that's a long story, but yes, this is Originally I had another location where I had my pinball machines at first
Uh,
because this is the lower level of my Chicago place, and I had tenants here at the first part of the pandemic. But then
uh,
they were a great couple. They bought a condo. They moved out, and I decided again it was pandemic times. I decided I'm just going to turn this lower level into basically a pinball bar, fun zone studio for myself. So
yeah.
yeah, I have 6 machines here right now, but at I used to have 7. I got rid of Godzilla at one point, but yeah, I have 6 of them now. But yeah, I've like you, I've owned a few, sold a few, not as many
Yeah.
as you. You're I can't compete with you and
You got
your
way
list
more
of
guitars than I do
yeah,
pinball machines at one point.
no doubt. Yeah, no
I'm
doubt.
at
I have
like
a lot of those.
I think the last time we were talking, you said at one point you had about 70 guitars between different rigs all over the place. I
Yeah,
think.
definitely over
Um,
50. Definitely over
yeah.
50 for sure.
I I looked. I think I've had like 52 games in
Wow.
since 2016. But again, like part of it is I like to stream them. I'm always streaming them,
Yeah.
and we talk about this all the time. Like I'm at a point now. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm at a point now where like I really like the games. I've had a lot of the stuff I've wanted. There's some outliers, but man, it's getting hard now because I don't want to get rid of anything, but I want to buy something new at some
Yeah.
point, and it's
Yeah.
it's
I've got
tough.
the
I
itch
mean.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to talk you off the ledge a little bit the other
Yeah.
day, but hey, man, do what
Hey,
makes
no,
you happy. Yeah,
no, it's all right. Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to rotate something out, bring something new in
yeah,
at some point, just to be able to for a little bit of variety, and the home environment is just such a great way to get into a game. It's as you know, it's a different experience altogether.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I like playing on location, but man, I love playing at home because you really get to learn the rules. You hear every
Yeah, because
little
you,
thing,
you
and
you get that tilt bob way low, and then you
uh,
do all your death saves,
death
and
saves.
you can see the whole
Uh,
game.
I must be interviewing Izzy Pinball right now. I'm getting shit for death saves already.
I
No,
was doing
the
them before you, though. I was doing them before you, and I
yeah.
stopped,
Hey,
thankfully. Yeah.
there you go. I haven't been doing them lately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't want
we'll
to throw
see
my
how this
back out
affects
either.
that. Oh
Yeah.
man, I've hurt my shoulders a little bit. I mean, on the
Oh yeah.
carpet with the sliders, it's not bad. Now I have like these the vinyl flooring, and now they're on like felt pads, so it's a little harder. But if this was wood or concrete, don't
Oh
even
yeah. I
bother.
have I have wood floors with the rubber feet stoppers.
Oh
Um, and so I kind of have to loosen the bolts on the legs just a little bit to do it. But even then, I mean, certain
yeah,
games, JJPs, obviously I can't do it with the JJP. And my Rush, it's not
yeah.
really a death save machine. My Rush
No,
LE,
I
not really.
I love when Izzy streams because especially when he had Pirates and even his Batman. I don't know what it is, but the legs creak because he nudges so much, and you can hear it on
Yeah.
stream where it's like creak, and I've kind
Well,
of
and
gotten
again,
used to it. And I'm like, that's what it should do, I guess.
that's why location games are so much harder, right? I've started to set my games up in the last couple of years a little tougher because I realized it
Yeah.
was just I was making it into a baby game, and I didn't want to do that. I was trying to get better, and I didn't want to make it too easy on
I
myself.
always
But
I always blame you. If because there was a period of time where you were like, I've been setting them up tougher. I'm like, I got my James Bond. I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna set it up at 7. I'm gonna set it up at
yeah,
7. I'm gonna leave the lane. So now I leave the out lanes where they're at. So I can thank you for that. I've gotten better because I'm like, oh, Greg would give me shit. Greg would be giving me
that's
shit for
right.
moving them
Yeah,
out lanes.
keep it
Um,
legit. Yeah, I keep mine at 7.7.2, and I keep the out lanes like stock. I don't really move them around too much, but
yeah.
yeah, you
So
know.
when I get over there at some point and play, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, is what you're trying to tell me.
I
I'm barely
wonder.
gonna make the ramp.
I feel like my Elvira is just really hard. I've
Yeah.
played other Elviras and have done better. So I'd be curious, like, yeah, when you get over here, see how you do on it.
Yeah. So I was setting a lot of the games at about 7, and
Yeah.
then a couple of them I had to back it off a little bit because I'm like, dude, I'm getting creamed on this
Well,
thing. And
well, I'd
then
argue that in some ways, the higher the pitch, like when you're into the 7 range, in some ways it makes it easier. You get
s-
less side to side movement.
it's yes, sometimes what I've noticed with certain games, some of them play better. I mean, dude, Labyrinth,
Yeah.
I tried everything from like 6-6 to 7-3, and it didn't
Mm.
make a difference. It kicked my ass no matter where it was. So I'm like,
Uh,
we'll stick it at 6-8. But there's some games that like Rick and Morty shoots better when it's a little steeper. Um,
mm.
but yeah, I don't want to make it a baby game, like, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find that balance. But I always say, Matt always talks about this when he sets them up. He'll set them up at, 6'6", 6'7", probably 6'7", and he'll put the tilt bob a little loose, and then he'll play through it. And a lot of times he'll go through and he'll beat the game, and then he's like, okay, now I'm going to move the out lane post. Now I'm going to tighten up the tilt bob and jack the playfield up a little bit.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah,
there,
interesting.
there's a range eventually for me where he's got a location by him and he's like, I love these games and they're so much fun, but they're all pitched at like 7-7-1. Out lanes are in the hardest position. And he's like, it's hard to get deep into the game when they're like
Yeah.
that. He's
Yeah.
like, it's almost like tournament style. And I'm not a tournament player.
I nor am I at all. I've just found that, especially when you have a game in the home, even if it's really, really hard, I'm sure
Yeah.
you've found this to be true too. That you'll get your ass kicked again and again and again and again, and then there'll be that one game where it's just like you're in the zone and everything's working out, and that's when you go deep in the game. So sorry about that dog barking, by the way,
That's all right.
but
I got two upstairs doing the same thing.
nice. Okay. But I found that in a way that's more rewarding, because when that moment happens and you kick the game's ass and you beat it, or go far in the game, it's so
Yeah.
rewarding. Like, it's just such an
I,
incredible, elated feeling. I love
I
that.
I agree with I absolutely agree with you on that. It's like I don't play golf very often. I play with work. I have like two or three buddies who love golf, and
Yeah.
I'm the really shitty golfer, but I'll go and play with them. We have a blast every time.
Oh yeah.
Um, but for me, it's kind of like the experience. They get super serious, and I don't. But with golf, it's like that. Like I'm on a tee box and I just crank a drive like 300 yards, or I hit like a 80-foot putt. I'm like, yeah, it's my new favorite hobby. And then I go back to, but it's that little bit that keeps you hanging on. But with pinball, these things have so many moments and so many cool things in them. It's like, even if you don't get through the whole thing and you don't beat the game, there's so much cool stuff in these games now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think that's kind of what helped me really get into pinball again, is that the last time I had kind of checked in on pinball, the rule sets on those games were pretty simple. They were still fun,
Yeah,
and it's not like I was crushing any of those games. I was still getting my ass kicked before I kind of learned better pinball flipper skills and stuff like that, nudging skills. But once I got Iron Maiden and Jurassic Park in the house, and those rule sets and how fun it is, you realize how far you can go in a game if you can keep the ball alive long enough.
yeah,
Then that's when you really, really get into it. Especially for non-pinball weirdos like ourselves, I think some people have a hard time understanding, like, well, why are you so into
yeah,
pinball? You just whack the ball around. And obviously we all know that there's so much skill to it and so much strategy involved. And
yeah,
if you can keep the ball alive, long enough, you can get really deep in these games. And it's just so rewarding that I think that the layman doesn't understand how deep you can get on this stuff. It's shocking how complex some of these things can get, especially with the new Dungeons and
oh
Dragons
man,
out now. It looks like that's shaping up to be a pretty complex game, which is pretty
yeah.
cool.
Was it I think it was Steve Bowden posted yesterday or something. He said, Venom learned to walk so that Dungeons and Dragons could run. And I'm like,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
that's total. I'm like, dude, just on point. Like I actually want a Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not in a rush, but I would. Matt and I have actually talked about going 50-50 on it, and just playing it. He'll play it for a little while and put it over here, and I'll stream it and play it, and then if one of us wants to buy it, just kind of buy the other
Would
person out, or
would you
um,
get a premium? Seems like the one that has all the cool stuff on it.
it does. So if I bought a premium, I'd probably wait for more of them to come out and the price
Sure.
to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the node board thing, the dragon, the node board burning up, or whatever, or failing. I
So I
shouldn't say
heard that had to
burning up.
do with the wire
The
harness,
cables.
was
Yep.
either the cables were like bundled up or
Yeah.
something. So
That
it
that
sounds
that's
like they may have fixed that, but
Yeah, yeah, it's an easy fix. I mean, they jumped all over it.
yeah.
But yeah, Matt and I always talk about that. I'm like, I think the code's going to be awesome. I love the Venom leveling system, and I'm like,
Yeah.
to put that into Dungeons and Dragons, like that'd be really cool. So with the dragon, it's like Godzilla Premium, right? I love that game. It's fun. I've had the Pro and the Premium. I like the Premium more, but there are times when I was playing it, I'm like, all right, I gotta wait for the building to go down. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
For
still
like
it's so cool
it
though.
it
Like
is it
to
is really cool, but I'm like, I wonder if the dragon's gonna get like that where he's like talking and holding up the game where you're like, dude, give me my ball. I'm on a roll. Like, when you get on a roll and it gets broken, you're like, dude, give me the ball.
So for me, I don't like pros. Um,
Mm,
and for those that don't know, Stern has three different models typically of their games, right? Pro is the entry level, premium's kind of like the mid tier, and then LE is the collectible version. The reason I don't like pros, one is like if I'm going to spend that much money on a game anyway, what is it? Well, it used to be for an extra 2 grand, which is a lot
yeah,
of money. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but if you're already spending a certain
They're
amount,
almost three now apart between the pro and the
yeah,
premium. Yeah.
yeah, right, for sure. But I kind of look at it like if I'm spending that much money, I don't want a plastic apron. That's the one thing. It drives me
No,
nuts. I look at that plastic apron and it's just a pet peeve. I'm like, God, that is so cheap and such a
yeah,
cost-cutting thing that
I get
if
it.
I'm already spending, I hate it. So I actually owned a Deadpool Pro, and which is a great game. I loved it. I had it for a
Yeah.
while. I eventually sold it, but uh, I found online a metal apron from like a Star Trek that somebody was
Yeah. Did
selling.
you repurpose it?
Yeah. I've took the
Nice.
stickers off. I did it. It's not the same because the apron doesn't light up or anything like that, but it just to me like made a difference. So that's one thing. And also it depends on the game. Like Jurassic Park, I think you got to have the premium. I mean, the T-Rex eating the ball is just the coolest thing to
Yeah.
me.
It's
Um,
I've
yeah,
always felt like when it comes to Borg is the one guy where you get a lot, and you'll probably disagree with me on that, but he's one of the guys where I feel like when you get a pro from Borg, you still get a decent amount of the stuff
yeah.
that you would normally get. He's very good with the pros. There's some
Well,
other
people love
games
the
where like,
Rush Pro. They love
yeah,
Rush Pro, one, because it doesn't have that stepper motor issue with the ramp and all that. I got lucky. I have an LE, and mine hasn't. Knock on wood. I've had no issues with the node board or any of that stuff, and I've had
well,
it for a long time.
if there's one thing I know about you, it's that you love steampunk, right?
Oh God, no, I definitely don't like steampunk. That's fortunately the LE. I mean, there are steampunk elements to the design, but
Yeah.
to me, it's not.
It's
It's not too
beautiful. That
overboard.
that
Yeah, yeah,
that game's beautiful. I borrowed Matt's for like 2 months and I
yeah.
wheeled it. It was the first time I had seen foil graphics. It was just, dude, it was an experience. Like the
I love
the
it. It's right
cabinet was
behind me right
beautiful.
now.
Yeah, I was scared. I had to move it into the middle of the other pins because, the kids running around with their friends and somebody
Right.
decides to ride a hoverboard in the basement. I'm like, please don't
Yeah.
damage that game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, so with Borg, there's games I weigh it like, I always weigh it out like Jaws like premium all day long. It's
Okay.
like I did that little, it's the benefits got to be there. Like Stranger Things Pro, the projector's cool. The projector looks cool. Um, the TK ball lock has issues here and there. I think they
Yeah.
might have sorted them, but for that one, that to me, that's one where I probably wouldn't spend the extra. I've had it 3 times. I'm not allowed to buy it again, so it doesn't matter. But um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that
limit.
so I always try and you know, try and justify it. Like, okay, I would like the premium. I'll tell you on Jaws though, I have the premium. I wish it had the Pro back glass on it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good looking, the classic poster. Yeah. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people say Iron Maiden is a really good pro. I would never get the pro though on that because for one,
You like the lift
the
ramp?
premium, that I love the lift ramp, but also the premium artwork, the Power Slave artwork I
Oh
want that
yeah,
theme. I don't like the pro artwork. No thanks. I like
yeah.
the premium. Yeah.
I was surprised. See, I'm representing Iron Maiden today. I got a little Eddie on.
Nice.
The was funny on that Iron Maiden. I was kind of surprised, and they threw Eddie on the side of the cabinet as the soldier, the trooper, and he's got the
Yeah.
666 on his sleeve. I'm like, wow, that's pretty ballsy to throw that on a game that's going to be an arcade with kids running around.
Oh, you mean for
Um,
Stern to do that?
yeah, for Stern to do that, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody was complaining about John Wick and the lack of guns, and I know it was a licensing issue, but I'm like, then I look at Jaws, and on the art blades, the Stern art blades, there's like a raft that's ripped in half. There's blood in the water, and there's like a mom holding a screaming child trying to get out of the water. And I'm like,
Cool.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no guns on the playfield, but we're gonna put a murder scene in Jaws. It
Yeah. It
cracks
sounds
me
like
up.
that was something from the licensor for John
Yeah,
Wick, from what I heard.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What are you gonna do?
all right, so on the topic of pins, music pins. Do you like music
Yeah.
pins? You big fan of music
Uh,
pins?
you could say yes. If you look behind me, it's all they are. I've got
Yeah.
Metallica, OG Metallica Premium. I've got a Rush LE. I've got an Iron Maiden Premium, and then I've got the GNR, JJP GNR LE. So I do like music pins. Yes, that's affirmative.
Are you still hunting down a Kiss? Are you still thinking about getting a Kiss?
Yeah, I'd love to get a Kiss. I'd love to get an AC/DC. Those are definitely two music pins that I would just really, really
Yeah.
love to have. The only thing now, since Stern remastered Metallica and put it out and
Yeah.
decreased the value of my Metallica Premium by a lot.
That happened to
Um,
everybody. Don't get me started on
Oh man,
JJP.
yeah, that one really bothered me. I mean, it's a cool game. I like
Yeah.
it, but I had just bought my Metallica Premium probably well, maybe a year prior to that, and
Yeah.
I did a lot, put a lot of mods on it, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. In
Yeah.
my opinion, I kind of prefer the OG thing. I know people are like, oh, you're crazy you're lying to
Yeah.
yourself if you like the original version. I like the original version for a couple of reasons. I like Dirty Donnie's artwork better. I've actually gotten to know Dirty Donnie a little bit, kind
Yeah.
of through DMing on Instagram and stuff. We were talking about some B-52 stuff for a minute for him, maybe doing some work for them. I don't think it
Yeah.
materialized, but I got to know him a little bit, and I'm a big fan of his artwork. I have a lot of his blacklight posters here in my blacklight corridor, which you can't see. Um,
Yeah.
I love his artwork. I think the dot matrix display is a thing. I think it's cool, and I think
I
it's a
like it.
nice variety. I don't want every one of my games to have an LCD screen, which I don't even look at that much anyway.
Really?
So I like the old Metallica. That said, if I didn't have a Metallica, I'd buy the new one because it's cool. So to your question about Kiss or ACDC, I'm
Yeah.
pretty reluctant to go and buy one of those old ones because they might remaster it for all I know.
Yeah, I think out of the two, I think AC if they were to remaster, I think AC/DC would probably be up there. That game, a lot of people love that game. I had a premium, and Jen was kind of pissed at me when I sold it. But
Mm.
we had it, and I know exactly. It's like 6 miles from my house. My buddy TK Brown, he pops into chat all the time. Like he's still got it. And I tell him, hey, if you ever decide you want to unload that, let me know. I'm like, I might not be in a position to get, but just let me know because. I was like, man, my wife loves it. You know what he said? He's like, my wife loves that game too. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm never getting this back.
Mm. It's a great game.
Um,
That would be a great
yeah,
remaster, I think, because there's
yeah,
certain elements of the artwork. To be honest, I don't like any of the art packages on any of the DCs. I think like it's
yeah,
either the Photoshop thing or it's the Lucy thing. I don't
yeah,
like the Lucy thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's like in bad taste. It's just I just
yeah.
don't think it doesn't
It,
represent ACDC really to me. It's just like some
no,
random girl with like who's like a devil
yeah,
girl with horns and a
it's
tail.
falling
Like
out of her clothes with a
well, yeah,
tail.
I don't even understand the relevance of that. Really,
Yeah,
maybe I'm missing something. I'm a pretty big ACDC fan, but
yeah,
um, some new artwork and maybe some new kind of designs to the plastics and whatever.
yeah.
That
You
I'd
could
be
do some
curious about
kick-ass
that.
stuff with the lights. What are they called? I'm drawing a blank on the expression
Oh, the
system, like
expression
they did with
lights. Yeah,
Metallica. Yeah, you could do
yeah,
some kick-ass stuff with like lightning bolts and AC/DC in
yeah.
there, and I'm
I
like,
hope
my God,
I hope they remaster that one. I'm hoping
yeah.
for that one or Tron. I would like a remaster of one of
Yeah,
those two or
Tron was
both.
fun. I liked Tron. It was. I'll tell you if I was into shit kicker games. Oh, and by the way, on Metallica, Matt and I were talking about this. Prices are coming down on those Metallica remasters because people are not that people don't like the game. People are realizing it is a shit kicker. That game
Hmm.
is not. It's not an easy game. It can be pretty mean. So we were looking
Yeah.
today. I mean, Wild About Pins had a Metallica remastered with low plays, and it was like $8,500. And I'm like, wow,
Ah, that's a good
that's
deal.
that's quick. Yeah.
I do like that
Um,
LE. The LE is pretty good looking, but I
yeah.
already have a Metallica, so I'm really
Mm,
not in the market for one of those. Over at
I hear
Logan,
you.
they have a premium, so I've played it. It's cool. You're right. It is. It just seems faster. It seems like the slings kick a
Yeah.
little harder. The ball just just zips around a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun game. If I hadn't owned it for like 3 years, I would maybe I'd consider getting one. But again, I always run into the problem like I want to share these games with everybody and stream,
Yeah.
and some of the music pins just make it really hard. It's like
Right.
I sent Maiden to my sister's house because I kind of hit the mummy card wall again. Like I can't get to the damn piece. I can get everything but the mummy card, right?
That's a hard
So
one to get.
I got frustrated and I was like, my sister's like, hey, I'm kind of jonesing to play Maiden again. I'm like, I'll send it to your house because the last time I streamed it, I had some decent games on it, but Twitch muted all the music. It was
Yeah.
just me talking and flippers going bang bang, and I'm like, this is probably not exciting for anybody else. Um,
Yeah.
but I get it, licensing rights, and you don't want people running around using music. I'm sure you understand that too. You don't want people out there using your music for anything and
I
everything. And
Well, I think at this point, I don't know. I think at this point, it's people have been stealing music now for decades. Why stop at pinball streams? Like why is that the hill to die on? I think it's kind of silly, but
what's
whatever.
crazy is you look at video games. I have a couple friends who design video games, and one of the funny things with that is technically the same stuff still applies over there, but they
Yeah,
realize that it's great marketing for them. It's great marketing
absolutely.
for people to stream those games. So from what I've heard, he said the only time that I had a friend who worked for EA at one point, and he was like, the only time EA really go after anybody is if they're bad mouthing them and it's really
Mm,
negative. Then they'll be like, hey, you can't put that up, So
okay.
I always thought with the pins, I'm like, again, the licensing is one thing, but from the manufacturer standpoint, I I want to see people play games. I want to hear the music. I want to see the stuff because it goes into my buying decision. And I mean, it's not like we're spending $20, sometimes we're
Right.
spending upwards of 9, 10 grand on these games, and it's like I want to hear it, I want to see it.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away. Most of the stuff is fine. AC/DC got me a little bit. Rush did too, where there's certain songs like they won't let you put up a video.
Mm.
Disney's notorious for that. Toy Story, I haven't tried streaming it yet, but like between music and video assets, like I think the one time we did a stream from the arcade, we played Toy Story once, and they yanked the whole stream. Couldn't put anything up. So um, little weird buying decisions, but I'm not going to not buy a game I really like because I can't stream it. So
Yeah. No, of
that's
course.
it.
Yeah.
That's too far. Um, so what do you want to see in terms of music pins? Is there any bands you'd really like to see make a pin?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love for there to be a Black Sabbath slash Ozzy pin if it was
Oh
just
yeah.
Ozzy themed. Honestly, if it was just Ozzy themed, like just his solo records, I would absolutely love that. I think it would be great. Like Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman,
Oh yeah.
like I mean, you could just do it based on those first two records, and it'd be an instant buy for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, Black Sabbath would be cool. You could go through the other rock bands or whatever the Viagra rock that we all love, like as they call it.
The Viagra Rock, I
Um,
love it.
yeah, like Van Halen, Motley Crue, like any of those would be really cool. But
Yeah.
frankly, I've got a buddy of mine who's a record collector, and he's a big pinball guy too. And he had always advocated for something more like from the African American music community, right?
Yeah.
Like his thing was always like a funkadelic, like a Parliament funkadelic pinball machine would be incredible. Which I
Yeah,
can't
that
disagree with that. That would be incredible. Like just the theme, the mothership,
oh my God,
things
could you
like
imagine
that.
like a Bootsy Collins pinball machine?
Yeah, I wish there
Or
were
Rick
more.
James? Holy shit. That
Yeah,
would be awesome.
yeah. I wish there were more like like funk or hip
Yeah.
hop, like black music, like represented in pinball. It's really absent. So I
Yeah.
mean, hip hop wise, there's so much you could, pull from.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, definitely P Funk would be one I would love. I doubt they'll ever make it. When I was with the B-52s, I'm not really with them anymore. But when I was regularly touring with them, I'm doing a lot of TV stuff and things like that. But when I was touring with them, I would talk to certain pinball people, like my dealer or people like I kind of knew from Logan Arcade that had connections to Stern or whatever. I was always trying to plant the seed of like, man, there needs to be a B-52s pinball machine, and I really wanted to be kind of spearheading that project.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a cornerstone Stern thing. Probably it's probably a little
Yeah.
too kind of niche, but God, the things you could do with that. I mean, you could literally have a
Oh
love
yeah.
shack, the
My
lobster, all,
God.
all that stuff.
Love
Yeah.
Shack, Rock Lobster,
Oh
Private
yeah.
Idaho is my
And
favorite. I
I'm
think
just
it's
saying,
probably one of my favorites.
I'm
That
just imagine it. Fred Schneider doing call outs. Come on. Like it's a no brainer.
yeah. I
But
it's so
yeah,
much
maybe the,
that there's so much cool stuff I think you could do with that, especially on the play field and the assets and the music. You just make it an experience. Like when you get a
yeah.
pinball machine that's an experience where everything comes together, right, man? Those are the
Well,
ones I want to
also
buy and keep.
plus just humor. I think
Yeah.
certain bands have that kind of character where it would really read and translate to pinball because they're just funny people or their characters. And then the B-52s are a classic example
Yeah.
of that. I mean,
Yeah.
Metallica is cool, but it's not like the call outs are anything special. It's really cool that the band did the call outs. I would
Yeah.
say one of the reasons Rush pinball is so much fun is that Ed Robertson got the guys to really dig in and treat it with like some passion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, they're really funny guys, naturally, and their humor really comes out in Machine, and it just adds to the experience of the game. You feel more immersed in the
Yeah.
IP, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I love stuff like that. Like theming it when they integrate things properly, like those are the games I love. I mean,
Yeah,
Rick and Morty, the
GNR
layout
Slash had
suffered.
all the assets.
Yeah, they had all the assets. That's the kind of stuff that I love. I mean, everybody was bitching that Jaws wasn't going to have the assets and they were going to cheap out. I'm like, dude, that thing's loaded. It's got all sorts
Yeah,
of stuff. It doesn't have Roy Scheider's face, but I'm like, dude, I look at the side of the cabinet, it's the back of his head, and I'm like, yeah, no, I know who that is. I don't need to see his face.
yeah,
He's in the video clips, like,
yeah. Yeah. If he wasn't in
so
those, it would be pretty lame. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. Um, yeah, I'm still waiting on my Tool pinball machine. I keep saying it. I don't think Tool will ever do it because I don't think they ever really license their music. Um, you
yeah.
know, um, but man, I
I
would
wouldn't
love
hold your
that if
breath on that one. Yeah,
no. Alex Gray, all that crazy artwork that's very alien-esque kind of stuff, like the H.R. Geiger stuff too. Like
yeah.
Alex Gray, he did a lot of these like psychedelic 3D images. I'm like, man, you could do so much cool stuff. They could get him to do the artwork. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
he'd be like, huh, yeah, I don't play pinball, no. But
So
God, I would
this
love that.
one, this one will never happen, but
Yeah.
I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure, but I genuinely like the music. I want to see a Huey Lewis in the News pinball machine. I want a sports-based pinball machine. That's what I want.
Huey Lewis in the news and a
Yeah.
sports based.
Well,
Yeah.
the album Sports.
Oh,
That's
the
a, like, yeah,
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah,
You could literally make a pinball machine based on that one record, in my
yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like Power of Love. Like I haven't gotten too deep into to Huey Lewis, but he did Power of Love, right? The Back to the Future song.
Yeah,
Or am
yeah.
I
So it
confusing that?
is in a pinball machine. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But that would be
No,
a
but
good
that
one.
game doesn't
I'm
count.
also thinking a
That game,
yacht rock themed pinball
yeah.
machine would be good. A smooth jazz a themed pinball machine would be pretty cool. I'd be down for
You get a
that.
Kenny G pinball.
Yeah, I would choose. I'd go a little deeper than that. I've kind of been
Yeah.
enjoying some deep cut smooth jazz stuff from the early '80s, late '70s. Like I'm thinking like Spyro Gyra, Lee Ritenour, that kind of smooth
Oh
jazz.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been going back and listening to some old stuff. The Fallout. I watched the Fallout series on Amazon, and they had just had such good music in there. So I was like going back and listening to these like older songs from like Nat King Cole. Is it Nat King Cole? Who was it? What's his daughter's name? I'm drawing a blank, but Natalie Cole, right?
oh yeah,
But
I don't
anyways,
know that show. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Nat Cole, Nat Cole or Nat King Cole. Somebody will correct me.
Nat
Yeah,
King
Nat
Cole
King
would be
Cole
the artist. Yep.
had some really good ones. I think it was 50s, the 50s. So I've been going back and listening, and I like it. It's just mood music, right? When I'm ready to tear something up and I'm angry, it's like, okay, the hard rock's coming in, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of laying down, I'm relaxing, like, let's listen to some Nat King Cole. So, yeah, there's a lot of pins out there that would be really fun. And I tell you, I'm still holding out. I'm still holding out for Cheech and Chong. Izzy and I are one of us. If we sit on a pile of money, we're making at least one Cheech and Chong, and we're going to bring it to TPF. We've already
So
got the whole thing planned.
I would love that too. I'm a big fan of Cheech and Chong as well, but that's definitely your and Izzy's thing.
Oh
Mine
yeah.
would be Beavis and Butthead along those lines.
Oh.
I want a Beavis and Butthead pin. I think that would be incredible.
So at TPF they had the homebrew Beavis and
Yeah, yeah. I
Butthead
saw
there.
pictures of that
So
one.
and
Yeah. No,
it was okay. But man,
I want like a stern
yeah,
cornerstone Beavis and Butthead, and I don't want him to
yeah.
hold back. That's what I want.
No, no. I'm like, what would be pretty funny is if they got the guys to do the call outs and basically have them ripping on you when you play bad, like this guy
Yeah,
sucks.
it's just Mike
Like
Judge.
yeah,
It's Mike Judge
yeah,
doing all those voices. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's what I'm
That would be
saying. Like,
cool. I'd be down for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That and I want
Multi-ball.
to do South Park too. I want to do South Park because they have like they did that first and after like the first like 2 or 3 seasons, they've got like 20 seasons of like gems. And I'm like,
Oh
man,
yeah.
there could be so much good stuff there.
Oh, for
Sorry,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, we're at an hour four. We'll keep moving along. We got we got some other stuff to cover. Um,
Yeah.
all right, so you kind of talked about your dad's collection a little bit and kind of getting in pinball. So one of the things you had told me the story a long time ago, and it's kind of the pinball and the slash connection. So,
Mhm.
on that, how did you kind of get to know Slash and the whole pinball connection? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah. So Slash was a member of my family for a while by marriage. And this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, kind of the height of GNR. It was, I think they were starting to work on Use Your Illusions and all that. And Slash was dating my first cousin, Renee, who's kind of like at the time, especially like sort of like a big sister to me and my brother and sister. I'm the oldest, but she was a couple years older than me and my first cousin, and so we were all very close. She's very like big part of our family, and she was a model in LA, and she started dating Slash back I want to say early 90s or late 80s, somewhere around that time. And they ended up getting married eventually, but what they would do is they'd come to visit our family in Chicago for, especially for holidays. They might stay for 2 weeks at a time around Christmas or Thanksgiving, what have you. They would come in town and stay at my dad's house, southwest suburbs. And my dad had all these pinball machines down in the basement. Now, I think at the time, Slash, it's not like he wasn't familiar with pinball, but to my recollection, I don't know if he would describe the story this way, but to my recollection, he was like kind of into pinball, but he would come to our house and he was great. Like they're no longer married, by the way. They divorced in the late 90s, but I'm still in touch with Slash, and he was in a way like kind of like a big brother to me for a number of years. Very
Wow.
great person, influential person in my life, and a bit of a mentor at times. But he would come to Chicago. He'd get kind of bored. This is back, especially when he was drinking back in those days. He'd be on his best behavior. He's a great guy, but he would he'd drink and he'd smoke cigarettes and he'd get kind of bored. So he'd just go in the basement and start playing our pinball machines. And he was just like playing for hours and hours. He'd be smoking cigarettes, drinking Jack and Coke, vodka cranberries, and just playing. And we'd play, like we'd battle and we'd play and play. And somewhere in that time, during those couple of years, he got the idea to do a Guns N' Roses pinball machine because he just was loving pinball, and he started buying machines for his own home. After coming to our house, he started buying machines. So my recollection is that my dad's collection influenced him to start collecting machines.
Yeah.
So he had this idea to make a Guns N' Roses pinball machine. Well, just so happened that Data East was out here in the southwest, or the suburbs of Chicago, the west suburbs. And so he'd come in town and he started working with them, with Joe Kamenkow and with John Borg. And they started designing a game. And the cool part about that is that I would drive, I would give Slash a ride. I have my driver's license, and I would drive him to Data East. And he'd go upstairs with Borg and Kamenkow and the engineers and whomever, and they would like work on their designs and the art teams and work on the games. And I'd be waiting in the lobby, kind of like, just chilling, waiting for him to get done with his meeting. And at the time, I remember they always had like a pinball machine or two down there. And I remember this guy who was incredible playing a game, and I was watching him just like do all these amazing things, like that, things that were amazing to me at the time, like post passes and drop catches and just doing all this crazy stuff. And it turns out it was Lyman Sheets, who was working for Data East at the time, and he gave me a couple of lessons back then because I was just like this kid hanging out, Slash's cousin, and he taught me how to do a post pass and a couple things. And I didn't know who Lyman Sheets was at the time, and
Yeah.
he just was this nice guy who was really good at pinball. But that was pretty thrilling, and I did get to meet John Borg in those days. And then of course the Data East GNR game came out, which I loved at the time. And Slash was so cool. He gifted our family a Guns N' Roses, Data East Guns N' Roses, that we had in our family until my dad just randomly sold it when he moved about 15
So one of
years
these
ago.
days we're gonna dig into that. Yeah, if you had the opportunity to get that game back, would you buy it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was so mad at him for selling it. I mean, I understand he was ready to just get rid of a bunch of stuff and he was moving to Nevada. But
Yeah.
the one of the things that was cool about that particular GNR, it had the topper, the plastic topper and all that. I don't think it lit up. It was just like a kind of molded plastic thing.
Yeah.
But when you turn the game on, it would say, I think it said Merry Christmas Suran family, which is my last name, our family's last name. And
Uh,
upon startup. And so whoever does have that machine, if it's
yeah.
still around, I wonder if they, erase the board or whatever, but I wonder if it still says that on startup.
Yeah. And do you have any specs on it or anything? Is there any way to find out like a serial number or anything? Because I know there's a
Yeah.
couple people out there that track them all down, but yeah.
Well,
So
I'll
if
tell you, it would be an early number because
yeah,
they made it for Slash to gift to us at the time.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
I would think it would be an
Yes.
early number. Yeah.
So anybody listening to this, anybody watching this, if you have a Data East Guns N' Roses and you boot it up and it says, what do you say, Merry Christmas, Saran family? Was
I
that
think it
right?
said Merry Christmas Saran family. Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
say that, reach out to me at hurryuppinball@gmail.com and
Yeah.
we'll see what
Yes,
we can figure
please.
out. You know, yeah, you told me about that and you're like, oh, and he sold it. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That would have been
Um,
a good one to have. Yeah.
so when Lyman was teaching you, did he do the whole thing where he gets really low and he like gets looking at the playfield like that? Was he doing that
I
back
mean, it
then?
was so this had to be, God, I don't know when what year, but it was, maybe, was it like 93 or 94? I don't know, somewhere in that time.
Yeah,
Um I it was so long ago. I don't remember. I kind of remember how he looked, and
yeah.
I just remembered that he was really, really good. And I'd never seen anybody play pinball like that in my life. And I didn't realize at the time I was meeting a legend and having a legend show me how to do a post pass. Pretty incredible, actually.
It's I'll tell you,
Rest in
he's
peace, Lyman Sheets.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was bummed out about that. I mean, you never really know what anybody's going through at any point,
Yeah,
but
so sad.
I mean, from the pinball side of things, man, he was fantastic. I mean, Elvira is one of
Yeah,
my all-time favorite games. Walking Dead,
yeah.
I love. I'm like, he's responsible for so much code on these games that I
Metallica.
absolutely love. Metallica, he's done so much. I'm shocked. I'll go
Yeah.
back through the Pinside top 100, just kind of looking at things, and I'm like, oh, he was on that. He was on that too. Oh, he was
Best
on that. He's on
best
everything.
coder rules of all
Yeah,
time, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like, there's no one's even close, in my opinion.
yeah,
Just to me, like, his rule sets, they're not overly, they're complicated enough for you. Obviously, him as one of the best tournament players ever, but
yeah.
his rule sets have life to them. Like, they're living, breathing rule sets that they compel you to do certain things that make you feel something. It's not just
Oh, he's
cerebral.
like when he's always tricking me into going after the drop targets on The Walking Dead when I know it's a bad idea, but I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
greedy because he's stacked everything in such a way where I'm like, if I do that, this could be really good. He was
Yeah,
awesome at that.
and it's not just about numbers or points. His rule
Yeah,
sets seem to go with themes and with journeys,
yeah,
that really add to the whole experience of going deep in a game.
yeah. I miss him on code. I'm curious to see because I think he was working on something for Cactus Canyon, like an
Yeah,
updated code set. So I wonder if that'll ever pop up one
that would be
day.
cool. Yeah,
Um, But yeah, so you mentioned Chicago. It is the pinball capital of the world, in my opinion. I'm sure I'm not
yeah,
wrong on that. To
no
the
doubt.
fact where Jersey Jack actually relocated to Chicago, even though he's still Jersey Jack.
Yeah,
Um,
AP's out here. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the
What's left of them?
yeah. I'm interested to see what's going to happen and if they are actually going to put out that next game or not. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions there. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know all the details, but it's you think that like how could that be that hard, especially if you have the backing to get it? But I stuff always pops up. It's like anything else. But themes, I think you know they just need to get in on a good theme. They need to get on a good theme that people want, pay the licensing fee, and then bang out a killer game. They really need
It's
that.
yeah, that company, they're just so confusing because I think they've made quality games. Their play
Yeah.
fields don't chip or pool, it seems. They struck mechanically pretty sound, more or less. They have quality parts and everything like that, really fun games in a way, but their themes are just terrible, just like the worst
Yeah.
themes. And I can't think of one good theme. Even Hot Wheels, to me,
Yeah.
is pretty questionable as a theme. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they had, I mean, let's just say, I remember back in the day, my buddy Mike from Great American Pinball, when I was saying, man, I want to try to get a B-52's pinball machine made. he threw out American Pinball would be a great one, and
Yeah.
at that time, I think that would have been a cool thing for them. And if that was something that ever would have come to light
Yeah.
or happened, that would have been by far their best theme. Even though probably not everybody in pinball world loves the
Yeah.
B-52s, I know there are some that do, but still, it would be such a fun game. Yeah, they really missed out
Yeah.
on their theme
Yeah.
choices.
I mean, Houdini wasn't bad, but the shots are so tight on that game.
Yeah,
Some of the other ones are just nothing really kind of spoke to me. Even I played Barry's Barbecue Challenge, and it just felt like
yeah,
a greatest hits for Barry O. Like, oh, there's a shot from
yeah.
Dracula, there's a shot from this, but it was just weird. To me, it was just it, it's to me, it's almost falling into that category, almost like a Thunderbirds. I'm not saying it's on level of like gameplay with
No,
that. It's probably way better, but
yeah.
I played it and it's just bizarre things. I'm like watching somebody cook a piece of chicken and they're like, "Ooh, yeah." I'm like,
Yeah,
what is happening? It's strange.
as as a vegan, which
Yeah,
I am,
yeah.
it's that Barry O's barbecue challenge is not on the top
Not
of
on
my
your
favorite
list of
theme.
pins to
Yeah,
buy. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that too. I think Izzy and I were talking about that when we played it. I'm like, you think Greg would play this just because it's a pinball machine? And he's like, no, I don't think so.
honestly, listen, this is a little aside here, but I am a vegan, but I'm not that kind of vegan that judges people who aren't. I'm not that way at all, and I'm
Yeah,
fine with people eating meat around me. I'm from
yeah.
Chicago. I grew up eating steaks and chicken and all
Oh
that stuff,
yeah,
so I'm not that way. It's just personal choice for me. But
yeah.
no,
No,
there's actually a pizza place near here that I go to sometimes around the corner that has a Barrios barbecue challenge, and I'll play it
yeah.
every now and then
Play
just
it
because
every
it's
now and
there.
then. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
because it's
there.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, we were talking about that at TPF because usually we'll go to dinners and stuff. So we'll coordinate to make sure that everybody can get what they want if we're all going to hang out. So everybody's
Oh
on
yeah. No,
board. So
I'm easy. I'm
I
easy. It's
so I worked with a girl for like 3 years who was vegan. She actually lived in Chicago too. So like I always try to be conscious of that too, because I'm like, dude, I eat also. I don't care. I'll eat anything. I'm like,
oh
I tell
yeah.
you all the time, if we come to Chicago, me and Izzy, we're like, we'll eat vegan like the time we're
Oh
there.
no, man.
When we're there. No, I gotta
People
try it. I
always
want to check it out.
sure. I'd be happy to show you, but people do that. Most people are so nice and considerate about that, where they don't want to
Yeah.
offend you. But I never get offended by that. I
Yeah.
do my thing, and I don't judge people for their choices. If people are curious, hey, why are you vegan? I'm happy to tell them, but I'm not that guy that's gonna start, yelling at them because I think they're doing
Yeah.
something that I don't agree with. Like, I'm not that
Yeah.
guy.
No, I hear you. Yeah, that's it was always because we go to work functions, so when we were picking and taking clients out for dinners and stuff, and we'd be taking out attorneys, it's like I'm like, hey, we can kind of steer the ship a little bit. So you tell me what's best for you, because I'll eat anywhere. I don't care. I just love food in general.
Yeah.
I'm like, so let me know. Here's a couple places, like which one sounds the best to you, and we'll steer everybody there. So I always try to be
Yeah.
conscious of that, and again, I'm like, I'm at that age where I'm like, man, I just need to eat healthier. You see all this stuff about all this stuff with food and what's going on and all the people getting sick and having, forms of cancer. And it's like you start wondering, like, yeah, maybe it's time for me to kind of clean it up a little bit. But
Well, we don't have to make this the vegan pinball podcast, but yeah,
no, 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 no.
yeah.
But you went there, so I was going to ask about it.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's see. The Chicago pinball scene,
Yeah,
Logan's Arcade.
yeah. Logan
I
Arcade, actually.
sorry, I always do that. Logan's
Everybody
Arcade.
says Logan's. It's yeah,
Yeah. It's
Logan
Logan's
Arcade.
Run. It's like
Yeah,
Logan's
right.
Run. I think that's what it is. Mess
Yeah,
me up.
I heard Kaneda was just like on Facebook Live or something talking about how he had gone to Logan's Arcade and he kept saying Logan's Arcade, and I was just like, oh, please stop saying that. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating. But yeah,
I,
it's a
s-
Logan Arcade. Yeah,
I do that to Troy because it's the basement arcade bar. And I say the basement arcade and bar just
and
because he's
bar.
like, bar, basement
Yeah,
arcade bar. And I'm
bar.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
cleaner,
no.
simpler.
Yeah, it's cleaner. Um, yeah, so as far as Logan Arcade, that's the hotbed. I think like any new game that comes out, I'm always jealous because usually if you're home, you're the first one to get to play it. Like would you play Avatar when it came out?
Yeah, actually, I played
And
that in California though.
oh, was
Typically,
that
Logan
California?
does not get JJP games.
Oh,
Typically,
that's a good point.
that's
Yeah.
the only thing they don't really get. They get all the new Sterns though. They have a Dungeons and Dragons there now that I need to get over there and play it.
Yeah, you have to tell everybody. Yeah, you have to tell me. I say everybody like we're still going to be on the podcast. You have to
Yeah,
tell me
yeah,
how that is because Matt and I are.
yeah.
I
Maybe
think
tonight.
level.
I might go tonight.
Yeah, nice. Send me some pictures if you remember. Matt says that level 256 in Asheville is his friend runs that, and they've I think they have a D&D premium
Oh,
coming,
I've
and
been
it'll
there.
be there. Oh,
I've
you've
I've
been
been
to
to that one. Yeah, it's
256?
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's cool.
Matt actually will service the games in there sometimes. I think
Nice.
Adam runs it, so he's in there and he'll work on games and he'll play and stuff. So I haven't been up there. I need to check that out. But
It's really cool.
yeah,
I love Asheville. Yeah.
yeah. So with Logan Arcade, so that's interesting. I didn't know they don't have any JJPs, but I wonder if they've always got the Stern guys in there, right? Um,
Yeah. I think Stern's been again. This is I don't know if this is factored. I just kind of assume that I think Stern will give them a bunch of loaner games, like when they have a new game to get on location and for people to try out to get some feedback on and stuff like that. So they've always had like the newest Sterns and Zespi, who owns Logan Arcade, he has a tremendous collection of old games. Like he has, I think he has a warehouse somewhere with just
wow.
tons and tons of stuff. So he rotates stuff in and out, and But yeah, they always seem to get the new Stearns in, which is always great.
I talked to Kelly at the Pinball Palace down in Brunswick, and I mean, his collection's insane. He's got a whole building full of pinball machines, a lot of LEs. Just he gets all the new stuff, and he just loves pinball. He had a completely separate business, I think, that dealt with industrial equipment, and he's good friends. I'm sure you've heard me talk about Dave, the Oracle. He's the sub captain guy. If, TPF. I think he'll be at TPF too. We all usually hang out. So. Yeah, Dave was really good friends with Kelly, who owns Pinball Palace, and um, yeah, Kelly's got like a crazy collection of games at the Pinball Palace, and I think he has a warehouse with like probably another 100 games somewhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
he's and he does have a Thunderbird. Maybe one day I'll see if he'll part with it for sub 2,500 bucks,
Yeah.
just so I can share it with the world. But
Yeah,
um,
that would be amazing.
yeah, the
Yeah, you
it's
should
always
have
cool.
a Thunderbirds. If anybody should, it should be you.
And I'm gonna retheme it into Team America.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah,
be awesome. I'm gonna change call outs and everything. At that point, if I get it for 2,500, I'll do that. I'll print some mods. We'll make it great.
that'd be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right. So I think the last thing, then we'll get into like kind of our some of the weekly segments. Let's see, favorite locations. Being that you've traveled all over the place, when you go overseas, I'm always like, you play any pinball, and you're like, there's nothing here. But I'm sure there are in some places. But as far as in the U.S., do you have some favorite places when you're out on the road that you like to go?
Yeah, when I'm working in LA, I love Ace Gogi and Van Nuys. That
Hmm.
it's like Korean barbecue restaurant. I know Carl from IE Pinball plays there a lot.
Yeah.
They have a great collection. It's this weird Korean barbecue restaurant that has a couple rooms that have an incredible collection of pins.
Yeah.
There's another place called Waltz Bar in Eagle Rock, California. It's LA basically. That's just a super cool bar, and they kind of specialize in older games, which is kind of
Yeah.
nice to not see any of the modern games. It's just older stuff, but they're well maintained and they do tournaments, and it's pretty cool place. Yeah, there's a I think obviously that when I was in Asheville, that your friend's place was really cool, and also the pinball museum there is great. The Asheville one.
Yeah.
Love that. I in New York, Sunshine Laundromat used to be the best in Brooklyn
Yeah.
in Greenpoint. It was so good, and they're still around. It's a laundromat that has a pinball room in the back. But
Yeah.
I was there recently, and apparently there was a landlord or somebody that lived above that had a bunch of complaints about the noise
Uh,
from the games, and
yeah.
so this collection, which used to be like 20, 30 incredible pins, is pared down to like 5 pins now or something
Oh
like that. And they're
man.
good ones, but
Yeah.
that was a great location. And what's the other one?
I used to go
What's
to
the
Jack Bar. Is it Jack
Jack
Bar the
Bar is
other one?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
It's a good location. Yeah,
Yeah. I haven't been to Jack Bar or Sunshine Laundromat. I used to go when I would go for work and stay in the city. I would go to Modern Pinball. It was on like 20th Street or something,
yeah.
lower Manhattan. And they were always cool. You go in, you pay the fee to get in, and there was a pizza joint right next door. So I just feel like, hey, I'd pay for a while, and they'd be like, yeah, just if you want to go get some food and come back, it's cool. So that's where I played. I think I might have played Iron Maiden. No,
Okay.
no, I had one. I played the premium there, but I played some other games. And I liked going to that one because it was convenient, usually to where I was staying. Um, yeah, I didn't get a chance. I was in New York in January, and I was hoping to get over to either Jack Bar or Sunshine Laundromat. But yeah, it's good to know because it's man, anytime you got to go somewhere. I mean, yeah, you can jump the subways here and there, but it's like you're gonna hop in an Uber or a car. I'm like, you're gonna pay more for that than you are to play pinball for the next 4 hours and drink beer. So
Oh,
I'm always
yeah, I do that all the time. There's a couple other places I really love too. Minneapolis, believe it's called Lit Pinball. I think it's LITT, if I'm not mistaken. That's a great location. It's small, but man, I mean, they have an incredible collection.
yeah.
That place is cool. There's a place in Baltimore that was really cool. It was a Mexican restaurant. I want to say
Huh.
like Rosa's or something. I forget the name, but it's a
Yeah.
Mexican restaurant, really good restaurant that is just loaded with great pinball machines, and bands play there and stuff. Like it's cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
Um, yeah, there's a lot
Do
of places like that all throughout the country that, off the top of my head, I struggle to remember exactly what they're called, but I have notes somewhere.
Yeah, there's one in my sister lives in DC, and there's a couple little places here and there, but there's one I can't remember if it was north or south of DC, but it was like Mother's Groceries, and I think they were moving it or something, but the person that owned Mother's Groceries, it was like a normal sized supermarket, but they had this one long room off to the side that ran the whole length from front to back of the store, and it was all like curtained off and walled off, and you go in there and it was like 50 pinball machines all in one line, and they were all in great shape, and it's just like everything was 50 cents, even all the new stuff. And it
Wow,
was it was so much fun because you go in there for like 2 hours and you're like, oh, do I need anything grocery wise on the way out? But I
wow,
think
that's
they might
cool.
have relocated or moved that. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. It's there's some great places out there. I'm always trying to find new stuff. So I figured, you've been out there a whole bunch too. There's some good ones you could probably throw out for some people.
Yeah, those
Um,
are just a couple that off the top of my head that I really loved. The one at the
yeah,
Mexican restaurant place in Baltimore, that one was a really cool location. There's another one in Kansas City, and I think it was in the on the Kansas side, and it was kind of like an old dive bar. Again, I'd have to look, in my notes from when I was on tour there. I think I was there with Lionel,
yeah.
and yeah, it was a really cool little dive bar that had this incredible collection of JJP stuff, Stern stuff. It was really cool. They're popping up all over the place now. I just use the pinball map
Yeah,
app,
same thing.
and
I'm like, okay, what's
yeah,
around? I think I sent
yeah,
you those nightmare photos. I won't say where it was, but when I was in Savannah, there was a place that had an
right,
amazing list of games. Did I send you those pictures of
yeah,
like
yeah, terrible,
these are the dirtiest games I've ever seen in my life? Like this is like
yeah,
I just want to clean all of them right now.
yeah,
That was insane, but I was like that. I never see anything worse. It was bad. Everything like I was playing Ghostbusters and like you could barely see the play field. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
this not good.
gnarly, yeah,
So
not good.
yeah, I'm not gonna badmouth them. I'm not gonna say where it is, but we come across those too. That's the worst.
Yeah,
Like if it's a little dirty, I can handle it, but when stuff's broken, like the flippers aren't working, turn the damn thing off. Don't make me put in $1 and then realize I can't play it.
yeah, or just
Um,
let me fix it.
yeah, yeah, seriously. I've done that. I went to a conference in Orlando that we had for work, and it was a big conference hall, and somebody had got a Munsters LE. They rented it and brought it in, and it was hilarious because they spent like 2 grand to rent this thing for like 2 days, and I'm like, dude, really? Like, this is a lot of money. And then they paid like $600 to have um, the show people move it in and out of the building. I was like, dude, this is crazy.
Yikes.
But anyways, they
Oh,
had no.
but
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, sorry. Well, I was just going to say, it just occurred to me, I can't believe I left out this pinball location. I get to Seattle a lot, and Seattle is an incredible town for pinball locations. But my favorite place is probably Adaball
Yeah.
in Seattle. It's just the vibe there is just amazing, really good. Also, I think it's is it the Jupiter? That's another location that's terrific. But Seattle has great
Haven't
locations.
it's been a couple years since it's been probably 10 years since I've been to Seattle now that I think about it. But yeah, those are places I want to check out when I go there.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Shorty's is another place in Seattle that's awesome. It's like a hot dog joint that has incredible pinball
That
machines.
just sounds like a cool place to hang out. Where are you going? I'm going to Shorty's.
Oh yeah, good place.
Um, but yeah, I was laughing because none of them had any idea about pinball, and I literally was down there underneath the machine with my suit on, leveling it because nobody had even
Yeah,
leveled it. And I set it up and got it all dialed in, and people were like, "I can't believe they still make pinball machines." I'm like, "They make a lot of them." And
yeah,
then
they
and
sure
then you
do.
tell them like, "Well, what if I wanted to buy one?" Then you tell them how much they cost, and everybody freaks out. But
Yeah, they
you
have
know,
no idea. Yeah.
I yeah, I never thought when I was racing bikes I'd have a hobby that was more expensive than buying carbon fiber bicycles.
Well,
And
I
here
got to
we
tell
are.
you, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't know if I would have made that initial investment in
Yeah,
in pinball machines. But I'm glad I did it. Like once you make that, I mean, let's face it, they are expensive, but it's basically the price of buying any new car. Like if whatever you would spend on a new car, even just like a Nissan or a Toyota or
yeah,
something, you take that money, you could start your pinball
yeah,
collection of, 4 or 5 games. And once you have that initial investment, as you can trade in and out. I know that's becoming harder, but in a way, I don't feel like it's that out of reach. It's just a matter of priorities. Like, do you want a car or do you want a pinball collection?
my wife's driving, her car's still like 13 years old. Mine's 12. I mean, I haven't had a car payment in 7 years, and I always tell people, I'm like, I kind of have, but it's all pinball machines. Like
Yeah,
I don't drive that, I drive, but it's not a ton. So I'm like, look, I spend so much time down here playing, streaming, doing all this stuff. It's like the thought of going and buying a brand new car, unless I absolutely need it or I'm having issue, like I'd rather throw it into pinball. I'm gonna get way more fun out
yeah,
of it,
yeah.
And
I'm not a
someday that
car
might
guy. I don't
change.
care.
Yeah,
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 yeah. No, don't care about cars. Just
yeah,
so little
yeah.
interest. Yeah,
I I love cars, but all the ones that I'd really like to have at some point, I know it'd be like anything else. I'd get it, I'd be like,
yeah,
this is amazing, and after 2 years, I'd be scared to take it anywhere, and I don't want to drive it because I'm ramping up my like. I'd rather just play pinball. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So. All right, let's kick it over and we'll do favorite games real quick. We'll keep moving here.
Okay.
All right, and I have a guess on
All
your
right.
favorite game. All right,
Okay.
I couldn't put two games in here, so I'm gonna guess and I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna go with Rush
Yeah.
and or
Yeah.
Jurassic
Yeah.
Park. That was my other choice.
So those would be my top two, Rush and
Okay.
Jurassic Park for sure. And I don't have Jurassic Park anymore. I sold it, which I kind of regret because I really
Yeah.
really loved owning Jurassic Park. But I'm gonna go with Rush. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the band. I love their music. I think the game is really deep, rule set wise. I think there's a lot of fun stuff about the multipliers and the modes and
A
the
lot to learn in that
wizard
game.
modes. There is a lot to
Yeah.
learn, but to me it seems pretty easy to understand and absorb. And uh, I like you can get into really good flow on that game. I would say that the only downfall is that um, when you're on your right flipper, there's not a ton to shoot for, but there's still
Yeah.
enough. Like, and if you can backhand that little side orbit, there's a
Yeah.
lot of shots to get from that. It's hard to post pass from the right to the left. That would be it's so if you have a shot that you need to hit from your left flipper, sometimes that can be frustrating
Yeah.
trying to get it over there. But I love that game. I have to say that's my top game. Yeah,
I need to
great
spend a little
guess.
more time on it. Yeah, I need to spend a little more time on it. I had it for a little while, and like I'll get a little deep into these games, but not as far as like you or Matt will get into it. Like Matt is a massive Rush fan. He's like he
Mm,
bought all the stuff. He's like, dude, he's like it was a gut punch, but I bought the LE, I bought the topper. It's just my favorite band. I love the game. It's a dream theme, and I'm like, dude, I would do the same thing. For
yeah,
mine, but. I had it and I played it. I enjoyed it. Again, it's another game I think I'd like to have another go on it because I feel like I've watched some streams on it and I kind of got a little better idea how things work. And that's part of the
well,
fun. It's just learning.
the way you can set up the multipliers, it's really fun because each song mode has its different sort of set of how to score points, and
Yeah,
each song mode is very unique to itself. But the things you can do in terms of like Spirit of the Radio, putting, if you get all your records the same color, they're times 2. And if you get your rainbow shots on that shot, it's also times 2. But if you get all the same color for every shot for a mode, it's times 3. And you could really
Just
get
blow
it
it
like,
up.
yeah, Spirit of the Radio, you collect your jackpot at the dead end shot,
Yeah.
the VUC on the premium. And you could have, if you have that multiplied and you're really maxing out your shot values, like, man, you could it's really, that's a fun way
Yeah.
to play the game. It's points based, but it's still related to the music, so it's not just like this nerdy point kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the rules of that game. I think they're great.
Yeah. I need to have another go at that. So I'll see if at some point, maybe I'll borrow Matt's again and send him Jaws or something. Let him get some Jaws out of his system. Um,
Yeah,
but okay, so Jurassic Park and Rush. So
yeah.
top five. You got three other games that are noodling around in there?
Yeah, Iron Maiden's got to be in there for me. I think it's just it's a great game. I love the theme. The shots are tight, but I think that's the kind of
Yeah.
game that makes you a better pinball player. And when you do get into a flow on it, like in Flight of Icarus, nailing those ramps
Oh,
left and right, that there it's hard to get those
eight,
consecutively. They're tough
eight.
ramps, but
I've
man,
done 8 back to back.
wow, I don't think I've
Like
done 8.
bang, bang, bang. Yeah, it was. And then that was. I only remember that because I was like, holy crap! And I did that in the Icarus mode. I
Mm,
was like, yeah, that's the place to do it. And then I
yeah.
think on Ghostbusters, I think I did the super loops like 14 times. Those are the two I always remember because I could never, dude, hitting back-to-back shots on Maiden on the ramps for that mode is hard. And I'm like, I don't
Oh
know what
yeah.
was going on that day. I was like, something else was out of whack. Like I just probably couldn't hit it up the jump ramp or something. But yeah, that
Ah,
Maiden's a good one. I like Maiden.
yeah, love Maiden, and I love the band. I've seen them on the Power Slave tour, I think 2 or 3 times. I saw them on the
Yeah,
Somewhere in Time tour, and I'm just a fan. So I
yeah,
love that game. So, and Keith Elwin games kind of hard to beat. He
yeah.
really
I
knows how
agree
to
with you.
design a game.
He knows what people
Uh,
want for the most part. He knows what people really like, and he
yeah,
balances out where there's something for advanced players, there's something for like intermediate players, and there's something for like beginners. Like he's really good about balancing everything out.
yeah, I agree. And one of the things about why I love Jurassic Park, and I don't know why I don't play it on location much. When I see it, I'll play it sometimes, but it was such a great game to have at home. I love the way that the rule set is mapped out, where there's a literal map and you're trying to advance
Yeah.
physically
And you
through
can
that map.
choose.
Yeah, and there's something about that kind of progress that's really satisfying, of working your
Yeah.
way through it. It's not confusing. It's very easy to grasp and feel
Yeah.
viscerally as you're progressing through the game. So that's a great game. I like the theme Jurassic Park. I couldn't care less about. I
Yeah.
mean, the
It was
movie's
like,
fine. It's great,
yeah.
but I don't care about dinosaurs really. But that just the way that the game is designed. It's an adventure. It's a pinball adventure. I love that.
Those are my favorite games.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So those are 3. When it comes to rounding it out, the last
Yeah.
2, that's a tough one.
Mhm.
I could put Elvira House of Horrors in there just because I own it and I love it. That's a contender.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'd like to get a game from a different era. I've never owned it, but I really love Tron. I think Tron
Mm.
is I just think it looks so cool. It kind of has that sort of black light look to it, and those ELI lighting on the
Yeah, the
ramps that
ramp.
some of them have,
Yeah.
like
That's
that
awesome.
fluorescent kind of like neon looking ramps. And the vibe. One thing that's really cool, I think sometimes lacking in certain pinball machines, is tone. And the tone of Tron, which is dark, kind of modern film noir, like sci-fi film noir, um, that goes a long way. And the music, the Daft Punk music, obviously really creates that mood. I think Stranger Things kind of nails that really well, also,
Yep,
just
the
setting that mood.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though I don't really love the game, Alien, the way that it's a dark mood, dark tone,
It's
that goes a
creepy.
long way.
Yeah.
um, Even though it's not my favorite game to play, I love that it creates that sort of mood. Halloween does that even.
Yeah.
So I like games like that. And I would say Tron, of those type of games, is the best shooting one with the best rule set. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with Tron in my top five to represent the moody, dark, moody games.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I bought mine from TV Ben. I talked him into selling it to me. And then I played
Nice.
it for a while. My only thing on Tron, and I don't know why they did this on the games, is when they split the DMD. Like I just didn't I feel like they waste a lot. Like when they put the scores here and then the other side
Oh,
it's like compressed DMD. I'm like, just give me the whole
oh,
screen. Like it's
yeah,
silly,
yeah,
but it just Indiana Jones was like that, and there's a couple other awesome
yeah.
games where I'm just like, no, just give me the whole DMD. Give me this one continuous thing. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I loved Tron. I played the day. I never made it to Portal, which was end. I got close a couple times. But it's just fun. It's an ass kicker. I'll tell you, in terms of getting better at pinball, I felt like I got a lot better at pinball when I was playing Labyrinth, Walking Dead, and Turtles constantly. Like that's all I played for like a month. And then I get
That'll
on
do it.
Jurassic Park or Jaws, and I'm like, man, I feel like I can control this ball. You're like, okay, this is a little, you still have your shit drains and stuff, but those ones and Tron, you throw Tron in there, I mean, like, dude, those are games that are going to make it way better. And
Yeah,
Turtles pissed me off so much, so much. But
I'm
I finally
sure.
got to final battle on it, and it was like, yeah, this is awesome. And I'm like, I've seen 95% of the content. I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to get that other 5%. It's just so, even Matt and I were talking about it. He's like, yeah, Cowabunga is like, it's like Run to the Hills on Iron Maiden. Like, you got to do everything perfect. And I'm like, I want
Yeah.
another experience now. I've seen most of it. So,
Yeah, I'm like that
um,
with games too, where I finally got to 2112 on my rush. I didn't beat it or anything like that, but
yeah,
it was cool once I got there. At least I got there. I love
yeah,
Turtles too. I think it's a beautiful game. I think it's fun. It's definitely hard, but that's a game I always liked. I've never owned it, but I always liked playing it.
Pizza Disc will ruin your world. It
Yeah,
just starts spinning, and you're like, I could tell, like, the ball would come from a certain angle, and it's just heading towards the pizza plate. I'm like, that's gone. There's nothing I can
yeah,
do about it. And it was like, John Borg loves
yeah,
those spinning discs. Like when I
yeah.
replaced the pad on my Tron, that was a nightmare because I had to scrape all the glue off. It took me like 2 days, but I put a new rubber pad on Tron for the spinning thing in the back. And my God, the first like week, if you ever see those old streams I put up, it would throw the ball so hard like you barely see it. And it would throw it straight into the drain from the
Ugh,
back of the game. And it was just like eventually the pad broke in and then it kind of mellowed out. But oh my God, that thing was terrifying.
wow,
But
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
fun game, and Daft Punk's just playing away while I'm losing my ball. So,
yeah.
um,
Tron would be my number four, just again because of the vibe, the tone
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
and it's fun to shoot. I think my number five, I could go Elvira House of Horrors here, but I think just for variety's sake, I'll
yeah,
choose a game from a previous era. And
yeah.
I'm not saying this is a top five game of all time, but it's definitely a top five. When I see it on location, I gravitate towards it because I just think
Hey man,
it looks
whatever I
cool.
tell people, whatever you like is what you like, man. If you said it was Thunderbirds, I'd clap too. So,
Yeah, it's not Thunderbirds.
damn it.
Uh, yeah, it's not definitely not Thunderbirds. But
Definitely not
I would
Thunderbirds.
I'm for this list. Depending on the day you ask me, I might have a different numbers three, four, and five. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Bally's Radical. I really like that game. I think the geometry is just crazy and cool.
yeah,
I love the call outs and the music. I like the look of it. I like that kind of early 90s era,
yeah.
Bally's or late 80s, early 90s.
The
I own a
cabinet's
Dr.
cool looking.
Dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, I own a Dr. Dude, and the artwork and the kind of the style of Radical seems very closely related. I'm sure there were a lot of similar people working on those games, in terms of art and sound and things like that. But yeah, Radical is super cool. Logan Arcade has one, and I played a lot when I'm there. I just think it's really unique and fun, and just
yeah.
looks cool.
Matt loves that game too. He loaned me his Radical for a little while, and I played. It was pretty decent shape.
Mm,
But yeah, it was fun. I like the ramps on it. It was just kind of different. It felt super 80s.
yeah.
It had that like with the cheetah print on the side of the cabinet, and
Yep.
um, that's a
Oh,
really
it's very
popular game.
80s.
Yeah,
Great.
it's held its value pretty well too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's weird the market right now. I'm watching stuff all the time, and the newer games, are dropping and coming down pretty quick. But
sure.
there's still some of these games, those Bally games and WPCs, like man, they're holding strong and they're holding on, man. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula, 4,500 and up. Radicals in the $5,000 range. Whitewaters are still in like the sevens and eights for a nice one. It's crazy.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the all right, let's see. I'm gonna kick it over. We'll do deals of the week real quick, then we'll do this or that, and then 10 pinball questions, and then I'll let you go about your day.
All right.
Unless you say you got something else going on, we need to wrap it up now. Here we go. Let's see. All right, here we go. All right, so we'll do Pinside deals of the week. Pretty quick here. There's a Mando Pro from Jumanji. It's a great name, Jumanji. Um, 202 in Sacramento, California. 4,600 oboe. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, you start getting into sub 5,000 for these newer Sterns. Truth be told, Troy has had his Mando Premium up for sale for a while at 6 grand.
That's
It's
it
not it's not moving. No, I think he had recently posted it at 57.
for
It's just
premium.
it's crazy. I used to own it. It was mine, and then I sold it to TV Ben, and then TV Ben traded it with Troy. So I'm like,
Wow.
that blows my mind. Um,
Seems like you always get the best of these deals.
oh, I don't have any money to buy any more games. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you, I should have brought Troy's. It was 10 grand. He had a Pirate Standard, you know.
Hmm.
And I was like, I can't spend. This was right around pandemic. Like, I can't spend that kind of money on a game. And then I bought a Deadpool for 10.5. So dumb, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, he's good. If he's gonna move a game, like you just tell him, like, hey, if you're gonna sell that, let me know. Like Matt really wants his high speed two. He's got a beautiful high speed two. And Matt
Hmm.
really, he just can't get it out of his head. So I like, hey, just stay in his ear. Don't let him forget.
Yep.
Um, but oh, Godfather LE. This is ATL Pinball in Atlanta, Georgia. It is pending now, $6,000.
Whoa. Yeah, I think I saw that one actually on Pinside.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, it's insane. This one was pretty good. Venom LE from Mikey Pins in Wolcott, Connecticut. $7,000 firm
For an
for an
LE.
LE. That was a $13,000 game. I
Wow.
think it was 13 or 12.5. Um,
Wow.
this one
Wow.
was yeah. This one blew my mind. I saw this a couple days ago. Game of Thrones Pro from Spaceman Ratso '09 in Oakville, Missouri. $4,300 home use only. I mean,
And
that's a great tournament game.
oh yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's a
fast.
fun
I mean,
game.
I like the upper playfield on the premium. Troy has, I think he still has. He has an LE. I like it up there, but I'm like $4,300 for
It's
Game of
crazy cheap.
Thrones. Yeah.
Crazy cheap.
And then this one will burn Izzy's ass. He'll get all fired up about this one. He was like, maybe I should just buy it. Told him about this yesterday. Ultraman Collector's Edition from Carter 008 in Allen Park, Michigan. Home use only, 400 plays. Butter cabinet, 4650.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's just like even if you don't like it's just so much. You're getting so much for 4650, including $1,000 butter cabinet. Um,
Yeah.
And then I did see a couple today, and real quick, and it was Wild About Pins. I've been watching Wild About Pins down in Florida, selling a lot of used games, and they put up 3 games today. It was pretty crazy, and they were all, um, let's see, let me check it real quick. Yeah, they were all. It was James Bond Pro, Foo Fighters Pro, and Deadpool Pro. All of them 49.99.
Yeah. Good
I'm like,
deal.
those are great prices, and they had that Metallica remastered for 85. So I'm not here to plug
Wow.
anybody's stuff, but I will say, I watch these all the time, and if you're patient and you're not set on buying new in box, there's some great you know, there's some great deals out there. You just got to catch them.
Yeah.
All right. So those are Pinside deals of the week. And now we're going to get into, I'm just gonna, this is this or that segment. So I'm going to list 2 games and you tell me which one you want and real quickly why. And then we'll get into 10 pinball questions after that. So
Okay.
I had some fun putting this together. Sorry, I just yanked the camera. All right, here we go. Black Knight and any version of the game. If you want to make them
Okay.
all LEs or whatever. So there's no pro, premium, anything like that.
Okay.
Black Knight Swords of Rage or AC/DC?
AC/DC all the way. Do you want to know why?
Sure,
Okay.
always.
Just because theme alone, and also it's a great shooter. Steve Ritchie, AC/DC.
Yep.
Steve Ritchie, Black Knight. The Black Knight theme doesn't do much for me, although that is a fun game. It's an ass
Yeah.
kicker, but yeah, I would just do AC/DC because I like rock pins, and
Yeah.
I
You
would
whooped
love
my
that. Yeah.
ass on Black Knight Swords of Rage when we played at the Hall of Fame. I
Oh,
was
that's
like, I
right.
got
Yeah.
done. It was like 30 million. I look at you and you're like 400 million. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Holy
I had a
shit!
good
Who am
one
I
on
playing pinball with? Um,
that. Yeah.
all right, The Big
Yeah.
Lebowski or Medieval Madness?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess.
Hmm.
Hmm, man, I think Medieval Madness is a better game, better pin, but I'd probably go Big Lebowski just based on theme.
Lebowski. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
fun game too, but I'd have to go with Lebowski. Also, the toys in that are incredible. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
assets. Yeah,
I'm on the list for Medieval Madness, and I've been on it for 4 years. And if they do run them like they're speculating around summertime, I'm like, I'm gonna have to raise some money for that one because I'm like, I've been waiting so long for that, and
yeah.
I need to get it out of my system, but I'm not paying somebody $15,000 for it.
No,
And
yeah,
if CGC comes out and says, hey, these are 12 grand, I'm like, dude, I'm out. I'm not gonna. No, I'd rather have two pros and get
yeah,
two experiences, but. We'll
yeah.
see. Medieval's a good one, but that's a tough one. Lebowski, I want time on Lebowski, but again, I don't want to pay the price for Lebowski. Um,
Yeah, if you're offering me one or the other, I'd probably just again go Lebowski based on theme.
all right, here's a good one for you. Jurassic Park or Rush?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go. If it's Desert Island, I only have one game to play.
Yep.
Man, oh, I'm probably again theme wins out on that. Again, Rush. I'd say Jurassic Park's the better game.
Yeah.
Um, but theme, I just love the Rush theme so much, and I get such pleasure out of it. I'm gonna go with Rush.
Rush. Okay. Yeah, I figured it would, being that it's music pin, like I said, I guessed right, I think.
Yeah, theme matters to me when it comes to games. Theme's very important.
Here's a good one. Tron or The Walking Dead?
Tron all the way.
Okay. Um, Twilight Zone or Indiana Jones? The
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. All right.
Yes.
I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are split on that one. It's like I feel like people either like one or the other.
I mean,
Um,
Twilight Zone is pretty stop and go and all that, but
yeah,
it's just such a clever game, and it's the toys are so cool. It's just yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
that's
love
that's a
it.
that's a great game.
I
Yeah,
love it. If CGC redoes it, I probably won't get one just because I had one so long, and Matt's has been here for 4 years. Um, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of people I think that might get to experience that game for the first time, which I think will be really cool.
yeah.
Um, X-Men or Foo Fighters?
Which X-Men?
Oh
The
yeah,
new
I gotta
X-Men?
specify the new X-Men. Yeah, not the old one.
From what I gather, Foo Fighters would be the one I would take. The flow is really good on it. It seems like the rule set's really
Yeah.
fleshed out.
It's a
Whereas
little unfair because
X-Men,
Foo Fighters is flushed out and X-Men is they're still going through it.
I'm
Um,
gonna, I really like Jack, and I like his game so far that he's designed. I think he's very talented and creative, and it just I've played X-Men a bit on location, and it is fun. I like some of the crazy geometry on it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it doesn't seem like the rule set's very deep yet. Maybe that
yeah.
changes. But yeah, I would probably take Foo Fighters over that.
I worry Wick's going to struggle with the code because they've got X-Men that need some attention, need some new stuff on code.
Yeah,
Wick definitely needs some code.
yeah,
They've put out Metallica Remastered, right? And everybody's kind of jumping on that and enjoying that. So they're going to pay attention to that. And then you have Keith Elwin's next game on the horizon, and I'm like, hope somebody does some stuff for Wick, and I hope
yeah,
X-Men doesn't end up getting left behind.
yeah.
Um,
We'll see.
all right, Pulp Fiction or Rick and Morty?
Pulp Fiction. I think it's just a cooler game. Rick and
Yeah,
Morty's great in terms of theme integration, but that was a show I never really watched. So again, theme doesn't really appeal to
yeah,
me as much. I mean, it's cool and it's fun. It seems like funny stuff. The
yeah.
assets seem to be great. Don't love the way Rick and Morty shoots. Um,
No, me either. I've had it
uh,
twice.
Yeah, and it's spooky. I like those guys, and they seem to be doing cool stuff. But I don't know if I'd want to own one of their games. It seems like maintenance might be kind of tough. But yeah, Pulp Fiction. I think for a throwback style game, retro style game, I think they nailed it.
Yeah,
I think I don't. I think like in a large collection, Pulp Fiction's great.
yeah. I'll never get tired of hearing Samuel L. Jackson yell in obscenities at me. It's just
Oh
something in a
yeah,
home setting where he's like, "Say what again?" It's like, yeah, this is
yeah,
this is it. This is fun.
yeah. The game
All right.
just looks cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Troy said it when he came over. This is the first time he'd seen it. He has an LE on order. So he's supposed to get his soon, but he's like, man, this thing is just pretty. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
it looks like an art piece. Like I kind of want to move it away from the end so nobody walks by with a laundry basket and just
yeah, yeah.
um all right, here's a good one. Attack from Mars, sorry, I can't talk today. Attack from Mars or Monster Bash?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go Monster Bash.
Yeah. I asked
Yeah,
Izzy the same question. He said Monster Bash because he's like, you feel like there's a little bit more to do in Monster Bash versus Attack from Mars.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah. Um,
yeah. I find the shots a little more interesting. Attack from
yeah.
Mars, it's classic fan layout game, right? But like,
It's pretty wide open. The playfield's pretty wide open. I feel like Monster Bash, you got a little more going on.
yeah, it's just more interesting. The layout's a little more interesting, and I think it's obviously really funny and quirky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go Monster Bash just by a little bit.
All right. Ghostbusters or Whitewater?
Ghostbusters, just because it's beautiful.
Good
And
game.
a lot of cool toys and stuff like that. Although, based on the guy who designed the game, I might have to go Whitewater. I'm gonna
We don't
take for
talk
the
about him
sword.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's some gnarly stuff there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, boy, those are two good comparisons. But as far
Yeah.
as like the game itself, I really enjoy playing Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Whitewater's cool. Get a little bored on it, but it's cool.
Yeah. It was funny. I was asking questions was it to Ben or Troy about the wizard? Where are you trying to get on Whitewater? And is Wet Willie's River Ranch? And I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know about Wet Willie's River Ranch. What's going on
yeah,
down there, man?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's
Careful
it's a
there.
yeah, it's a fun one. It's a fun one, but I think Ghostbusters just has a little bit more to offer in terms of content. And again, they're different eras, so that's to be
Yeah,
expected.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
all right, this is the one where I know how Troy would answer this. The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings. By the way, I think it's a beautiful game.
Yeah,
Love Lord of the Rings and The
we gave
Hobbit. I haven't
yeah,
played The Hobbit. It's cool, but I'm gonna go Lord of the Rings.
too many drop targets, too far for the ramp shots in the very back of the game.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had it. I had it for about a year. I enjoyed it. Theme integration was great. Layout didn't care for it. My God, those drop targets would cycle all the time. And there's like
Hmm.
four banks of them, and it just feels like there's a jackhammer operating in the basement. Um, Kiss or Aerosmith?
Uh, Kiss, just because
Kiss.
it just looks cooler. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go Kiss. Aerosmith's a cool game. Pretty
Yeah,
underrated, I think, actually. But
yeah.
I really enjoy playing Kiss. I think it's just a cool looking game. It's good flow. There's some fun stuff to hit. I like Kiss.
I wish they would integrate that ball throwing mech in something new. That's really cool when they do it and it works right.
Yeah, yeah, that
Like
is cool. And
Houdini
Aerosmith
did
did it.
it, Aerosmith did it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one, Kiss. And even if it's aftermarket, you got to get that Kiss topper up there with just like the light
Oh, it's
bulbs
so
on
cool.
it and like
Yeah,
so sick. You
yeah,
got room for toppers, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking. Every once I saw somebody got a labyrinth and they actually cut a hole in their ceiling and and did all the things so they could put it up there. And I'm like, hey, have you played the game yet? Because this is really tough and you might not like it. Like, and you have a hole
Yeah,
in your ceiling now.
that's quite a
Um,
commitment. Yeah.
yeah. Bram Stoker's Dracula or Halloween?
Bram Stoker's Dracula all the way.
I want one of those. Matt's
Yeah.
considering selling his, and I'm like, I kind of want it, but
That missed
you,
multi-ball thing is just the coolest
oh
thing.
yeah. And the call outs, and when you get the triple stack going, and that video
Yep.
mode with the wolves, it's so awesome. Um,
Yep.
House of Horrors or Jaws?
House of Horrors all the way. I'm one of those who doesn't love Jaws. I don't know. Like I
Hmm.
don't hate it. I've only played it on location and it's cool. I There's something about it.
Yeah.
It seems like the shots are just for an Elwyn game. The shots all seem wide open and maybe it's
Yeah.
fun because of the way the rules are, or something,
Yeah.
or how you're supposed to. I don't know as much about the rules and how to play the game, but in terms of just the shots, I don't know. I was a little underwhelmed with the shots on Jaws. There's some definitely
No,
satisfying shots to hit, but I feel like I'm not a great pinball player or anything, but like I'm all right. But I just found the shots a little too easy to hit, maybe.
no. There's some safety shots in there, and I'm realizing I have to take like the shot up the middle is the safety shot. When you need to get to the left, you can't post past really. So just bang the shot up the middle to get to the left. So it's to me that game's about kind of navigating where you need to be, which but I'll tell you this was funny. You were the first person to actually get me think about selling my Godzilla. When you were
Yeah,
like, I think I'm gonna sell my Godzilla. You know, and
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
got over it.
yeah, I think I did too. And again, I always say that's bought me some pinball machines. I've made mods. I started my business around that, and it was fun. But I did get to the point after 18 months. I'm like, I'm ready for something new. I
Yeah,
felt like I was cheating on Godzilla, but I'm like, but you mentioned it, and I'm like, and then Izzy talked about it too, and I was like, yeah, maybe it's time to move this on. I think I've had my time with it, and I'm good.
yeah. And
Um,
again, for me, Godzilla, it's like theme I just don't care about.
yeah.
But it is a great game. It's fun. I loved having it here at home. There's some cool stuff, but like when a game becomes really popular and everybody blows it up on stream and shows you exactly how to do it, I don't know. It kind of takes some of the wind out of the sails for me a little bit.
Yeah. Again, I like the magic. I mean, even if I pull the glass and I'm trying to learn some of the rules, I don't ruin any of the modes. I always
Yeah.
stay away from the modes. I just want to know how it works. All right, and this is the last this or that, and this is a very important question for you. Spy Hunter and Thunderbirds, or Bugs Bunny Birthday Ball and Hercules?
Okay. Definitely not Hercules. That's the worst pinball machine ever. Bugs Bunny is well, I'll say is the one I like of that bunch that I would
Yeah.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not bad. It gets really bad. It's not a last of everything game to me. Hercules, I played it. It's like playing pool with giant flippers. I'm like, I don't want to move that. I don't want it in the house. So yeah, so you'd probably take Spy Hunter and Thunderbirds. Is that what I'm hearing, Craig?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I got him. Um, all right, well, cool. Well, that is the this or that segment, and then we're going to go into 10 pinball questions, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, here we go. 10 pinball questions. All right, and these are traditionally games that you've owned. Like I kind of looked and from pictures and what we've talked about. All right, so here's number one. You ready?
Yeah.
Uh, on Dr. Dude, there are 5 dude levels on the dudometer. What is the highest level called?
Oh, like totally awesome or something like that, or you're yeah, it's like what are you're a nerd or you're whatever. Man, yeah, it's funny. I was just playing that the other day. Uh, I
There's
forget.
like okay,
Yeah.
there's cool dude, there's a couple other ones. The one that's at the top. Um, remember which one it is?
God, I'm
I love
blanking.
asking these questions.
I'm blanking. Yeah, like awesome dude or something. I forget. Yeah, it's something like along those lines.
Super
Dang it.
dude,
Super dude. Right.
super dude. Uh,
Super dude. Yeah.
super dude. That game, the call
Yeah.
outs in that game make me laugh, dude. There was
Yeah.
a while I thought about picking one up. I was kind of keeping tabs on them because I played on location. It was pretty fun, fun shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, all right, how many levels are there to Gappa Angry, not including the kill shot for the final to beat it?
Yeah, I feel like it's six. I'm gonna
You
go
know
with
what?
six.
Izzy said the same thing. There's 5 inserts, so I think 6 is the actual kill shot. So I'll give you credit for that one because Izzy said
Okay.
6 too, and I think the kill shot.
Yeah.
So fair enough. You to beat it, you got to hit the 6
Yeah.
final shots. So
Yeah.
technically, it is 6.
All
Um,
right.
you already answered this one, man. Come on, you better get this right. You
All right.
brought it up on your own too.
Okay.
What 3 musicians did the call outs on Rush?
Oh yeah, Ed Robertson, Geddy Lee, and Alex Lifeson.
It's the Ed Robertson. I was like, I'll see if I can stump him with the Ed Rob because you would think like Neil passed away before they put out Rush,
Yeah.
didn't they? Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was like, yeah, we'll see if Greg. Yeah, you answered that before we ever even got to it. I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah. So Ed did the basically the 2112 Overlord voice,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
that was, highly processed in the studio kind of thing that
Yeah.
Neil did back in the day, but they had Ed do it.
Yeah. And they got, I know he's in D&D. Ed Robertson did some stuff in D&D too, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
all right. Name three games that use a replica gun to launch the ball. There's a lot on this list.
Okay. Data East GNR.
Yep.
Three games that use a gun to launch the ball. Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, there's like it's got the kind of canon-ish things. I'll give you that one. That's fair.
Terminator.
Yep. All right,
That's
yeah, that's
three,
three.
right?
Yeah, it's three.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So here's what I had written down. Guns N' Roses, Data East, Indiana Jones, The Shadow, Dirty
I,
Harry, Lethal Weapon, Last Action Hero, GoldenEye, T2, T3, and Demo Man. So I
yeah.
was
Oh,
surprised that there
Demo
was
Man.
that
That's
many.
that. Sorry, I,
Yeah.
I meant Demolition Man. I said Judge Dredd, but I meant
Yeah,
Demolition
I
Man.
knew what
Right.
you meant. I got confused too. So
Yeah.
you're good on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Stallone.
Yeah, it's Stallone. You got to have a gun on there. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. On Stern's Iron Maiden, name the four Eddie cards you have to get to battle the Beast.
Okay. So Mummy. That's
Yep.
definitely one. Uh, Aces High. Isn't that one of them? Or I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
Trooper Multi Ball. Trooper Multi
Trooper.
Ball.
Yeah. Mummy, Trooper,
Mummy, Trooper, the Somewhere in Time thing, the robot guy, the cyborg.
Cyborg. Yeah. And then there's one more. And I didn't
What?
actually know the name of this one. If you could tell me what you have to do to get the
And I
card, I'd be
can't I
really
can't
good.
turn around, right?
Even if you turned around, I wouldn't tell you.
Oh, really?
No, you can go look at it. Go look at it. I don't care. Um, yeah.
Let's see.
So if you know what you have to do to get that last card,
What is it?
it
What is
is,
it?
so they're all named Mummy Eddie, Trooper Eddie,
Yeah.
Cyborg Eddie, and the last one, Soldier Eddie. You get
Soldier
that
Eddie.
for beating if you play all five modes. I think it's five. You play
Okay.
is it five or six? I'm losing my mind. It's been gone too long. If you play all the modes, then you get to play the 2 minutes to midnight. So playing 2 minutes to midnight gets you the
Oh,
soldier
okay.
card. Yeah,
Yeah. So that the first wizard mode, 2 minutes.
yeah.
So that
I
gives you
love that mode.
the trooper card. Okay.
Or no, no, so that gives you the soldier card.
The
two
soldier card,
minutes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Trooper
yeah,
is
but
trooper multi-ball. Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing more that makes me more pissed off than when I have that trooper jackpot lined up. I suck at that shot. That dead end shot right next to the ramp, just a little, I cannot
Yeah.
hit that thing. It's
Yeah.
random. Most of the time I hit it, it's random. And I've had that stupid jackpot queued up for like 10 minutes, trying not to
I
drain,
know.
and I can't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, 2 minutes to midnight. I love that mode. I love nuclear weapons, nuclear history, all that, and just the rockets taking off. And if you play the mode good, the jackpot shot is worth whatever you got for that mode.
Yeah. I
I
like
wish
that
I
kind of
was,
system.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you can add more time. It's got the guy hanging from the clock, which is pretty neat. Um,
Yeah.
all right, on Stern's Rush Pinball, how many record colors are there?
How many colors? Oh, okay. So you've got Big Money, which is like the fuchsia. You've got La Via Strangiata, which is like a kind of purple pink. You've got Working Man, that's three. That's orange. You've got Spirit of the Radio, that's blue, that's four. You've got Limelight, that's five. And which song mode am I missing? Big Money, or did I already say that? Yeah, I think I said Big Money. So I'm going to say six record colors.
You, sir, are correct.
Yeah.
I had to look this up, and I actually ran this by Matt too, because he's so far into that game. Cyan, orange, blue, pink, purple, and lime. And it corresponds, I think those correspond to the modes in the game, I think too.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
or the
It's for
album.
each of the
Yeah.
song modes. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So you got that one right. That's good. You have six. All right, here's a fun one. On F-14 Tomcat, gameplay is about you being an F-14 pilot and you are trying to down General who? What's his name? General
Oh God, I'm never gonna get this. Yeah, but I do
General
remember as a kid.
yeah, General Yagov.
Okay. Yeah. 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 That's right.
There's a sign that on the side on the left it says kill General Yagov.
That's right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. You know they had a laugh about that when they put that shit on there.
Classic.
Yeah. Um, what are three playfield differences between Jurassic Park Pro and Premium?
Playfield differences. Okay. Well, oh, I see. Just like feature differences,
Yeah, the feature
basically, based
differences
on
between the Pro and
based on the
Premium.
playfield.
Yeah.
Okay, so the moving T-Rex head, the
Yep.
premium has it, the Pro does not.
Yep.
The Raptor pen
Yep.
uh, opens up on the premium, and you can lock a ball inside. That is one.
The
The
last one is
third,
so minuscule, like I don't even care about it. Like it's totally
hmm,
not worth the money for that part.
hmm.
It is on the right-hand side of the game
Yeah, I'm gonna
about,
say the helicopter,
yep, there
maybe.
you go. Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah, the helicopter on the premium spins and it makes a noise.
yeah.
Um, I bought the mod from Measle Mods. It was like 35 bucks. And it just the
Ah,
ball would hit it and it would spin too. It was just cool. I didn't hear noise,
nice.
but yeah. So yeah, you're mowing through these pretty good. Here's a fun one. What company built the Spinal Tap pinball machine?
Home
Remember?
pin.
There you go. Yeah. Also
Yeah,
makers of
your
Thunderbirds.
favorite manufacturer. Yeah,
I was so bummed out at Hall of Fame when I went to go play it, and it was like it was not leveled, and
yeah.
like I wanted to level it, and I asked, I like was gonna ask the guy, kind of, he's like, I'd prefer you not. I'm like, all right, and then I
Ah,
came back later on, and I was like, oh, I'll play one more game, and it was off, it was broken again. So
yeah, of course.
yeah, what a license! They could have done so much with that.
Very
Um,
disappointing.
all right, and the last one, not a game you've owned, but who did the call outs on AC/DC?
Uh, well, it's a Steve Ritchie game. I don't really know, so I'm going to guess Steve Ritchie because he did call outs on a lot of his games.
You are 100% correct on that one.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So there you go. You're pretty good. I think there's like one or two you missed. That's pretty good. Say that you
Yeah.
passed. You passed, Greg.
All right.
You know what you
Cool.
got?
Yeah, I missed
You know what you got?
that
F
iron. Oh, what do
plus.
I
You
get?
got an F plus.
All right.
No, no,
Cool.
you did good. I think you were 8 out of 10. So, um,
Not too bad.
all right. Well, thank you for joining us today. We are 2 hours 20 minutes in. I'll get everything buttoned up and we'll get it together.
Great.
In terms of uploads. And again, it'll go up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then we'll get it up on YouTube too. So, um, yeah, thanks for joining me today. Now, if people want to learn a little more about you, or where can they find you? Instagram, any sort of stuff like that.
Yep, I'm on both Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, I'm G Suran Rap. That is GSURANWRAP. It's also my handle on Twitch. Not that I stream, but I comment sometimes. And then on Facebook, I'm just Greg Suran, Suran. But those are the best places to find out about what's going on with me with my music, like performing as a guitar player and whatnot.
All right. And now, if anybody wants to check you out on TV when you're playing in the band, you're on American Idol, and you're doing stuff with The Voice as well, right?
Yeah, I'm on American Idol. That's my main gig. But we're in our eighth season, so those episodes are going to start airing in March. I think the season kicks off, and then the episodes where the band is featured start kind of a little later in March. And then I've done some filling in on The Voice as well from the previous season. And um, but yeah, that's definitely American Idol is where you can catch me this year.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. It's the longest podcast we've done. I appreciate you being patient.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. It's fun. There's a lot of cool stuff. So I appreciate you taking time to hang out and talk with me today. So,
Thanks for
with
having
that,
me.
yeah, you got it. And I hope you have I'm glad you're home, and I'm glad you'll get a little break and you can do some fun stuff. And don't forget to send me your take on Dungeons and Dragons if you get to play it tonight, because I definitely want to know.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah. Hopefully
um,
tonight.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. I am going to kick it over to the end screen. I say it all the time. Stay safe, play more pinball.